Are you searching for a deeper understanding of your faith?
Inspiring Philosophy is your go-to resource for exploring the rich tapestry of Christian thought.
From biblical archaeology to philosophy of mind, we dive into the topics that matter.
Our content bridges faith and understanding, offering insights into God's existence and the reliability of the New Testament.
Join a community where faith meets reason and discover the answers you've been seeking.
Inspiring Philosophy, where faith meets understanding.
Erase the name. Now every idol sounds the same. A generation on its knees, begging comfort, yelling peace. Oh, this is the price of pride. Dancing while the truth just dies. We fear the cross, embrace the chain. Our freedom's just another cage. In the ruins, a whisper stands, scarred and radiant, pierced hands. The silence breaks, the dark retreats. The king returned and thunder breaks. Where the last light fading under broken skies, chasing meaning in electric lights. But grace still burns where shadows fall. The dead arise, he conquers all. Take one last breath before the dawn takes back the
What's up, everyone? We're live.
Yo,
That's all I got.
yo.
That's all I got today. I'm tired. It was a busy day yesterday because I turned. You hear this, Stan? Yesterday I turned 39 in 24 months. Can't believe it.
Are you being like an old woman and afraid to admit your age?
I'm in my 30s, man. I don't know what you're talking about. It's been in my 30s for 11 years now. Can't believe it. You know how it is.
You're 40
I'm a
something.
year away from turning 39 in 36 months. It's gonna be wild to me.
I'll be 32. No, wait. 33 in October.
Man, you're so young. Got your whole life ahead of you. Nothing to worry about. All right. We got some guests in the back room. We'll bring them up in a minute here. So yeah, we're talking about, is Jesus God? We obviously affirm that Jesus is God because we are Christians. If you deny Jesus as God, you cannot be a Christian. That's a rule. I didn't make the rule. The Bible made the rule. And then the apostles and the church fathers enforced it. But that's the rule. Chase says, not late. This is the weirdest picture, man. Caught a picture of the Dizzle at a Star Trek convention. Or is it Mike Winger? I can't tell. They look exactly the same. It's hard to tell, man.
I love how that's coming back.
Star Trek conventions? What?
No, the whole Winger versus David Wood beef.
And that's been going on forever, man.
I know, but it's like prominent again. I want to watch them I want to see them in an octagon together. I'd pay to see that.
Thank you, Randy. Always super helpful for the channel, gifting 5 Inspiring Philosophy memberships. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Always helping the channel out, Randy. We always appreciate you, man. Thank you so much. Young Redeemers asks, what are y'all's spiritual gift? 1 Corinthians 12:4-12. I think y'all's are knowledge. Keep up the good work, brothers in Christ. Well, I'll take your word on that, sir, because it's definitely not speaking in tongues.
I don't know what mine is. Maybe knowledge. Who knows?
I don't
I just
know
like
either.
to do what I think God tells me to do.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, Mike, how was ApologetiCon? Sorry I wasn't there this year. Wanted to spend my money on other stuff. Yeah, well, it sucked because you weren't there. I hope you feel guilty now. Hope you feel real guilty for not being there because it's all your fault. It was going to be great. We were expecting you. And then when we started, you weren't there. Like, we're on stage and I saw Frank Turek. One tear just came out of his eye. He was so sad you weren't there. But other than that, it was fine. It's getting bigger every year. So like the first year, it's like 200, then there's like 300, and there's like 500 this year. So it's getting bigger every year. Dawa Shirk, do. Hi, IP and TP. Why are you TP? What is that? Fan philosophy?
Maybe. I'm thinking about it. I don't know.
I do like the Dawa Shirk though. That's pretty clever. Like that. That sounds like a show you'd see in like Palestine or something.
Dawa Shirk, Dawa Shirk.
Get the juice, get the juice. You know that's exactly what would happen, man.
Oh man, yeah. I didn't know where to go with that afterwards because Daddy Shirk sounded like it'd be.
Let's not go there. No, let's not do that. All right, let's move it on.
That's how the song goes.
No, all right. We got a couple guests in the back waiting. So I'll bring in our first guest. We're gonna go in order. So first up is Agnostic. Can you hear me?
I can hear you guys.
Excellent. Well, welcome. How are you doing today?
Doing well, and happy 39 and 24 months. I'll tell you, 39 and 132 months is a hard one, so don't worry.
I'm hanging in there. That's all I can say. I'm just doing my best. So
go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess you're not a Christian, you're agnostic.
True.
Cool. So, and you don't think Jesus is God, right?
True.
All right. So do you think the New Testament teaches Jesus is God?
I think the Gospel of John would be the most likely one to communicate that message. I think Jesus said things like, I am who you say I am. I come from Abraham. Just going off the top of my head right here, but I think he alludes to it in John a little bit. John's kind of a unique one in that aspect.
So I want to just kind of make sure we understand your position. So because you're agnostic, you don't think the Gospels are reliable. So then what would your position be? Are you going to say that maybe in Mark Jesus isn't God?
I think I go by the Q source a lot, that there's a text that a lot of the Gospels kind of use, and we don't have that because we don't have, other than fragments like P52, and they're like the size of a postage stamp. We don't know what the originals were. I think Ehrman put it correctly that we don't know the Bible is wrong. We just don't know what was actually in the original text. So I think there's been a lot of aggrandizing to the text. That's my position, is that these stories have morphed and changed over time. We don't know what the texts originally were. That's
Okay,
my
so
position.
do you hold to a Q reconstruction then?
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, like do you have a scholar specifically you hold to?
I think Ehrman's talked on it a little bit. I'm trying to think of the other scholars I've read on it.
John Kloppenberg, maybe?
I have not read that individual.
Okay.
I'll write them down. Wait, can you say them again? I'll write it down.
John Kloppenborg, very
Okay.
liberal scholar. So let me ask you this then. Okay, so let me pull up a Q text. So because like you would say that in what I don't now. Here's my thing. I always want to preface this. I don't think we can reconstruct Q.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case. But like even in the Q reconstructions, we see Jesus teaching that he is God.
I'd love to see that.
All right. There's actually one that has kind of come about recently that has been pretty awesome. So just go to a general Q reconstruction here. This is, again, according to Funk and Miller.
Okay.
So it's Miller time now. So let me find it real fast. Here it is right here. This is found in Luke 6:46. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? Now, why am I bringing that up? Jason Staples is basically shown, as well as Michael Patrick Barber, Charles Quarles, Robert Bowman Jr., Ed Komashevsky. Anytime you see this phrase in Greek from the time of Jesus or prior, it always refers to the Tetragrammaton, Yahweh. So in the Septuagint, for example, you'll go to places like Deuteronomy 3:24. It's also in Psalm 108, I believe, verse 21. It's also in Ezekiel 37, I believe. Anytime you see Kyrie, it always refers to Yahweh. So, for example, there's places in the Hebrew Bible, for example, where you say they have Adonai Yahweh. When they translated that into the Greek Septuagint, they rendered it as Kyrie. So only Yahweh is ever referred to with this title. But Jesus, in apparently the Q reconstruction, it's in Luke and Matthew. That's where I think that actually comes from. But in Luke and Matthew, he claims that for himself. He says he is Lord, Lord. So the only two people in any Greek text from the time or prior who identify themselves as Lord, Lord are Jesus and Yahweh.
And I was looking in the background at John Kloppenberg. That is a last name if I've ever seen one.
Those freaking Germans, man.
And I think his position on this is that the word right there in Greek can mean sir, master, or lord. And once again, I'm just going off the cuff here. I'm going to read more on this. And like you said, you gave me a more liberal scholar to look into. So of course they're going to believe in my position more, but this is an interesting thing for me to examine more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's honest. Yeah. But yeah, this is, he translates it as master. It doesn't matter. The Greek is Kyrie regardless. So what matters is the Greek. And so in that, Jesus is clearly identifying himself as Lord, Lord, Kyrie.
I do have one thing. Can I branch a topic, or do you want to remain on this for the last part of this call?
If you wanna just ask us something, sure. But then we're gonna move on to the next guest.
Sure. This can be the last part of this call, and thank you for your time. Last time I called up, and I am very open to evidence. Than and I talked about Marilyn Ford, the woman who had her eyesight healed, and I read the journal articles on it from. Oh gosh, I've got it posted here somewhere. The journal articles. Anyways, I read the journal.
Was it the GMRI one?
Yes.
Okay.
And I had some concerns about this miracle. It happened around 1959. Marilyn Ford's husband, ACIE, he was the pastor, and also her vision actually didn't get completely better. It was corrected around 40/20. And then a lot of times in her stories, especially in her book, These Blind Eyes Can See from 1977, she says, I was totally blind. But then when you look at what it was said, and I got one last thing after this, she actually could see hand movement and finger counting, different ways to assess vision. And lastly, in an interview I watched from 4 years ago or so, and she's pretty old right now, nothing wrong with that. She's probably 39, and
Yeah, you hear the Gnostic hates old people. Sorry.
she's 39 and 400 something like that. But anyways, with that, she said at the places she went to, I'm going off the top of my head here, Holland, Michigan, and another spot, they didn't know what was wrong with her. They suspected juvenile macular degeneration, but she explicitly says they didn't know what was wrong with me. And this is before modern methods in the 50s she was being observed, before they could take visions to see what was the degeneration. So there was a lot of holes in this story. And then she went around preaching and selling her story and selling books. I found it very interesting. I spent too much time on it.
Mhm.
So anyways, that's what I don't know your thoughts on it, but I read up on it from our last talk.
Yeah. So I'll say a few things. You said a few things there. I'll address the what I think is the biggest concern most people have with this case, which is her healing. The healing was to 20/40. It wasn't like perfect 20/20 vision or anything like that. Now the thing is, that's still a 400% increase in visual acuity, which is just kind of like unheard of. And then furthermore, her eyesight was never 20/20 to begin with.
But her eyesight 20/40 was with corrective lenses.
Mhm.
And
Hey, just
go ahead.
real quick for everyone on TikTok, I'm going to restart the live because, again, the TikTok studio, the audio is crashing out again. So you guys can't hear the guest or Than, which is stupid. So I'm just going to reset the live.
They
come
should be
back
able
in a
to
minute
read
for
lips,
TikTok.
Mike. That's a them
Hey,
problem.
Do
not
you
enough.
see agnostic's lips? That's what I thought. Okay. All right,
They're
I'm going to
agnostic.
reset the live because TikTok studio sucks, as always.
But yeah, so
Go ahead.
that's the thing I would say for that, right? I have a at worst, right? Because I can meet you halfway. I want to be cooperative here. I don't share the intuition that somebody has to be perfectly healed all the way, as if like they're the perfect living specimen in the particular medical domain that they're being healed in, if that makes sense. If you share that intuition, I want to be cooperative there. And so from there, I'm still going to point to the fact that like it's still a 400% increase in visual acuity that was happened under the pretext of Christian prayer. And then from there, I'm going to go, at best, if we share these intuitions and these assumptions, well, it might just it just might make the evidence less forceful.
Oh, my God.
But you're still going to have to explain somehow what happened, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, and it does. At the best version of her story, her vision went from finger counting and hand movement, which they can do finger. I learned so much about eye exams.
Ophthalmology. Yeah, I know. And this is one of those things where like I need to have the notes in front of me to actually like have a more in-depth conversation on some of these, because I don't have every single one of I don't have all this medical stuff in here. It's on notes and research and stuff like that. So
I'll give you my final thoughts on it, and then I'll let you guys get to the next caller. And then I want to offer a challenge right before I go. My final thoughts are, there was a guy, Amazing Randy, who would test a lot of these claims. And when I see her story and I see her telling people she was totally blind, in her book she says she was totally blind, there's differences between what we have on the medical reports, and it causes me to doubt. That's my position. I have a lot of doubt in.
Can you say that one more time? I
Sure.
just want to make sure I processed what you said.
Because there's inconsistencies in her story of interviews where she says she's totally blind, and in her 1977 book, These Eyes Can See. She also had a second miracle, which was a digestive miracle, and her first miracle was coming to Christ. She claims 3 miracles. But there's inconsistencies in how these miracles occur. And due to that, it sheds more doubt to me on, did a miracle occur, or is this something because her husband's a pastor and she went around preaching this at churches? I mean, you know what? Here's the thing. What would you expect if a miracle occurred? If a miracle happened to me, I've got pretty bad vision. If you prayed for me, and you had to lay hands apparently, maybe I'd start preaching it. So you could go by that angle. Like, what would you expect?
Well, yeah, that's a really hard psychological thing to actually tell. Because here's the thing. In my experience, people broadly fall into one of two camps. They want to talk about the miracle, or they just want to move on. Here's a really good example, actually. There's a case that I'm investigating right now about a man that was dead. He was in a morgue for over 40 minutes after he was pronounced dead. And he testifies to the idea that when he was dead, he had a near-death experience. He was looking at Jesus, and him and Jesus were looking at his dead body. And Jesus is saying, he wasn't a Christian, by the way. And he's looking at Jesus, and Jesus says, like, you still have a chance. Meanwhile, one of the doctors on staff testifies that he felt like God was telling him to pray over the dead body, and he did. And then this man comes back to life. Now, I'm not presenting this as a case for you to believe right now. I want to use this case as an example for something very specific, which is I literally spoke to the man that was allegedly raised from the dead yesterday.
Oh.
And he goes, and with a lot of conviction in his voice goes, I just want to move on from this. My faith isn't based on this miracle. It's based on Jesus. And I just want to live my life in service for Christ. If you have questions, go talk to the hospital.
Interesting.
So like, there's people like him out there, and I run into that a lot.
Well, thank you. And here's my challenge. You ready? And I want to know if you guys accept it. I want to see Mike and Than versus DZ and Danny on Rogan.
Who's DZ?
Deconstruction
Oh,
Zone.
Dan. Are you talking about Danny Phil Talk?
Yeah.
Danny and I are really good friends.
Well, that makes it more interesting.
What?
That makes it more interesting.
Yeah, him and I have really good conversations in private, and him and I at least have a pretty strong conviction that we don't want to debate each other in public because of our friendship.
Well, that sounds good. And I appreciate
I already
that.
debated Deconstruction Zone on Tim Pool like a year ago or so.
Well, I'd love to see it again. Well, thank you guys for your time. I won't take up any more.
Cool.
Yeah, I
Thanks.
hope you understand the Danny thing, agnostic though.
Oh yeah, no. That is totally respectable. And actually, some of the best friendships are like, hey, we're not going to cross into these boundaries. We're just going to be friends.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming, man. Talk to you later. All right. Oh, he took off. Okay. I was going to kick him. How dare you not let me kick you? Okay. Richard Carrier's Pigeon wants to sing. You have to sing that, Than. It's for you.
Oh no.
Yeah, I see. Even Than
No,
has
wait.
limits,
Why would he
guys.
want me to? Wait. Why would he want me to sing Daddy? I think he wants you to sing it.
I'm not singing that. I have too much respect. What does your daddy do? That's a good one, man.
What does your daddy do?
How does this stuff happen in the super chats? Hi, P and Than. I haven't been able to catch you live until now, but I was baptized on May 31st. You guys were a huge part of my conversion, and I wanted to say thank you. Keep up the good work, and God bless. That is awesome to hear. We are so glad you were
Thank
baptized.
you so much.
Excellent. Yep. I'm going to screenshot that because that's good to know. Thanks so much, man. We appreciate that so much. Let's bring up our next guest. Danish. are you
Hello.
there? Hello. How do you say
Hello.
your first name?
Yeah, my question is why Jesus drink wine in your Bible?
Why Jesus drank wine? Because there's nothing
Yes.
sinful about drinking wine.
Written in your Bible.
Yeah, we know. I drink wine every Sunday when I partake of the Eucharist. So what?
Yeah. Do you believe?
What?
Do you believe Jesus drink wine?
Yes, Jesus drank wine.
Why he didn't? Why Jesus drink wine?
Because there's
Why?
nothing wrong with drinking wine. What is going on?
Why?
Because there's nothing wrong about.
Hey, Leon, lock in
Okay,
here, bro.
okay.
Just wait. Lock in. I need you to lock in. I know it's gonna be tough, but I need you to really pay attention and lock in here, okay? You're asking us a question. It's not an argument. Tell us what the problem is.
What's the
You're
problem?
asking us, why did Jesus drink wine? How is Jesus drinking wine a problem?
Jesus is Jesus. My next question is Jesus say
No,
I'm a
lock in, bro. Come on.
why? My
No,
question.
come on. Steady
Give me
yourself.
answers.
Compose yourself. I know you can do this. I believe in you. Okay.
Give me
believe
my
in you.
answer.
I know you can do this. Give me the argument.
Why is it a problem?
How do you go from Jesus drank wine to Jesus is not God?
Okay,
Don't
give
ask
me
me
a
a question.
please.
Don't ask me a question. Just give me the argument.
Okay.
I,
Are
I
you
really
gonna
believe
tell?
in you, man.
For
You can do
example,
this.
the
You can do
Gospel
this.
describes Jesus drinking a wine at the meal and drinking at the last supper shared wine with his discipline.
Why is it a sin to drink wine?
Okay. Okay, I have to give evidence.
Go ahead. You know what? We're done. Have a good day, man. We're not having this conversation. What is going on, man?
Sorry to take over on that one.
No, that was funny as heck. What's going on? Why did he drink wine? Because there's nothing wrong with drinking wine, man. We're not Muslim. I can only assume that he was a Muslim and that was a problem. And we're like, what's going on here? Wild stuff, man. All right, Dennis, you're up.
Hey guys,
How you doing, man?
I'm fine. I just have questions about the Trinity. That's okay.
Okay, it sounds like you're talking through a sewer pipe. So we can't have a conversation unless you fix your mic because there's nothing there. You there?
Wait, can you hear me now?
That's much better. Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me better? All right.
What's going on?
Cool. I have questions about the Trinity. That's okay.
Yeah. So what is the question?
So, who does the Holy Spirit proceed from? The Father or the Father and the Son?
That depends on what side of the split you are on the Filioque. So if you believe in the Filioque and you're in agree with the West, you would say it proceeds from the Father and the Son. If you're in the East, you'd say it just proceeds from the Father.
Okay, so what would be wrong with saying it proceeds from like only the Father? Like,
so there are different arguments. I'm not really nailed down on either side, to be honest. The West makes a case that in John, for example, it does talk of those Jesus sending the Spirit, and so it seems as though he is also responsible from the Spirit coming from him. The East argues that the Father is autotheos, that he is the sole source of everything. So there is that debate. This is a whole centuries old debate going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on here. That's not really the topic for today. We're talking about is Jesus God?
oh, okay, all right. Well,
Do you
okay, the
believe
other
Jesus
question
is God or no?
oh, I do. It's just that like obviously the Trinity is a complex philosophical like framework. So I do believe it, but sometimes I need to just like understand the relational like what's going on between each of the persons, right? Like why
Yeah.
isn't like why aren't there like more persons in the Godhead? Just only three. Like is it limited to three? Or
So Richard Swinburne would make the argument that 3 is all that would be necessary for perfect understanding of love. So
Oh.
if you have a binitarian God, for example, you have love between both persons, but to have a real sense of a whole understanding of love, you need more of a community, and that the minimal number of that is 3. God's not going to be excessively more persons than would be necessary. So 3 is all that would be needed for that understanding of love, and so God is 3 persons. So that's, you can look up Richard Swinburne's work on that, as well as Joshua Sijuwati has another approach to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sujuwati's paper builds off of Swinburne's, and he does a really good job of it. There's also just the idea, because this question of like why 3 and not more or less. I mean, Unitarians have the same problem, by the way. Why is God just one person instead of 2? Right?
Oh, good point. Good point.
Right. But furthermore, if you grant the love argument, and I was talking with Sijuwati about this. This is something that, by the way, Mike, he wants me to write a paper on. This is really complicated stuff, so I'm just gonna keep it really nuanced. I mean, really pop level here for a second. I I submit, for instance, that love is something that's called an architectonic good. The basic idea is that love is a special type of good. And the basic idea is that somebody might make the argument that like loving more people is going to be better than loving less people. But the problem is that the minimal amount of people that is necessitated for divine perfection is 3. But any more persons inside the divine identity is going to be redundant for satisfying that perfection. But God still wants to love more people, so he makes contingent people, if that makes sense.
Oh, okay.
So in other words, the necessary amount is 3, right? But God is a necessary being. And
Yeah.
if 4 is a thing that got like that, a number of people that is within the divine essence, well, that 4th person is contingent. That introduces contingency into the divine essence, and that's going to be a problem, right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
we have a reason to say 3 and no more, by the way. And now there's a broader argument here, but that's the bird's eye view.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense. That's actually a good explanation. Okay, one last thing. I think that's it. I was gonna say, like, so let's say, like, a Muslim asks you, or just anybody who's not a Christian, like, why doesn't Jesus explicitly just say, "I am God, worship me"? Like, yet he doesn't just like say it directly.
Would you ask that same question of me if I'm in the grocery store with my children? Like you see me in the grocery store and I have like kids with me and I'm like, hey, yo, get over here. Stop messing around. Like, you're not going to look at me and be like, are you his father? You never explicitly said you're his father, right?
Okay, but Jesus would obviously.
And so really quick, the people that I'm interacting with act as if I believe I'm their father, and the things that I do and the things that I say presume that I think I'm their father and they think I'm their father. So why would I ever explicitly need to say, hey, I'm their father?
Yeah, okay. I get that, because sometimes when you're talking to Muslims, right, and you're bringing up the Islamic dilemma, and you talk about how there's no like part confirmation, Allah's confirming a wholesale, right? You ask them, why didn't Allah anywhere in the Quran just say it's a part confirmation? And sometimes I've gotten the response, well, then why didn't Jesus, like, because if Jesus is all knowing, he knows he's speaking to like a future audience. So why didn't he just like clear up the confusion?
Well, I mean, like we would say it's pretty explicit. Jesus claims in multiple places he's God. The confusion comes from Unitarians, non-Trinitarians that are just denying the obvious. So like if you go through books like The Incarnate Christ and His Critics, they just point out over and over and over again with his actions, his words, his titles. He's just constantly showing he's God. And so like what's missed is that people just like, they're not understanding things in its cultural context. They're not looking at the Old Testament passages that are using. So, yeah.
Oh, so you're saying like to a Jew at the time it would have been like so clear, like it would have been.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
The question I was answering is your specific question of why didn't he say these specific words, right?
Oh, yeah.
And the question, and what Mike just said is complementary to what I'm saying, because they recognized what Jesus was doing. They recognized what he was claiming implicitly.
Okay.
I mean, Jesus says he's Lord of the Sabbath. There's no way around that. He's claiming to be God because the Sabbath was instituted by God in the book of Exodus. Who's Lord of the Sabbath? God is. He says the Son of Man is even Lord of the Sabbath. When he's before the high priest, he says
refuting that Muslim on it. Yeah.
Oh yeah, like that. There's when he's before the high priest, you will see the Son of Man coming with the clouds of heaven. Okay, the priest tears his clothes, like he's committed blasphemy. Like we know what this means. And if you read scholars like Daniel Bourrienne, like they just know that that's a divine person in Daniel 7, the Son of Man, and whoever claims to be that is claiming to be divine. So yeah, this is just all over the place.
Okay, so could you say that the Son of Man is also perceived like as a divine figure, like even before the Gospels? Like the Gospel authors aren't reinterpreting what the Son of Man is. Like
no, I mean again. Look, this book here. There's like two or three chapters in there where he's going through the Jewish understanding of Daniel 7, and they're all like, yeah, this is some divine figure. Like that's just how they understood it. And if you just read Daniel, he comes with the clouds of heaven. Like scholars have noted, like anytime any sort of cloud imagery like that shows up, it's always referring to God. And this would, if it's not here, it's the only exception in the Hebrew Bible.
Okay. I also wanted to say, like, could you also say that he's also trying not to get like killed immediately?
Of course. Yeah. He
All right,
says, you parallel with the Gospel of John. He says, my time has not come. So that's why, like, after John 8:58, when they pick up stones to throw him after he just declared being the great I am, he sneaks away because his time hasn't come yet. But then when he's before the council, you know, there's no hiding anything at that point or trying to sneak away.
So the verse where he says like something about him being like he's in John 10 or something like that, he says he says something and then they pick up stones and then he like retreats and says, does it
Yeah.
not say that even you guys, can you explain that? Like, why did he say that if he is like claiming to be like God?
I think you're confusing John 8 and John 10, where he says the
Yeah, I
Father and I
think-
are one.
Yeah,
he's
that's what I'm talking about.
He's basically saying, like, you know, like, hey, your scriptures point out there are other beings that are Elohim, yet you're mad. Yet, so like, why are you stoning me? But then he's clearly, if you read the context, he's claiming to be the good shepherd. He's claiming that he is one in purpose with the Father in giving eternal life. Like, this is very clearly claiming to be divinity. And again, he's just not getting killed there. So, I mean, like, you have to look at what he's doing and how he's handling the situation. But he's clearly claiming to be God in the prior verses before all this happens. Like, he never denies it.
All right. Well, okay. Give me your strongest verse that I can use to show that it's so like it's explicitly him claiming to be God. The strongest one.
Matthew 7:21-22 and Luke 6:46. Jesus calls himself Lord, Lord. And again, in Greek, he's saying Kyrie, Kyrie. That's a title only ever applied to Yahweh. It's throughout the Septuagint.
Like, there's no other human being that's ever in the Greek text.
Nope.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's very clear there. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thanks for coming, man.
All right. Bye.
I'll do some super chats and we'll bring up the next guest here. Q RSTUVWXYZ. Very powerful stuff there. Very powerful stuff. Yeah. Love it. I was trying to find this Daniel thing in Daniel Boyain's book. Where did I find that?
Boyains.
How do you say his? I always feel like I say his name wrong. Boyain.
What are you trying to find?
Oh, yeah, on page 141. From the text in Daniel, it would seem that two divine figures are pictured. One who is ancient and other one who is young, son of man. It is a paradigmatic contrast with the Ancient of Days, should be read as youth, young man, as it is even in the rabbinic texts that deny that it represents a second person. So in other words, we have two divine figures here. One is ancient, one is a young man. Jesus. I just was like, holy crap. So it goes on to say, these traditions all understand that two divine figures are portrayed in Daniel 7, whom we might be tempted to call the Father and the Son.
Dude, Mike, you have no clue. You need to read all of Boyarin's work.
I know,
insane.
I gotta. I'm trying to. I'm gonna get caught up on that stuff. But yeah, it's a lot of good evidence for that, man. Just watch your lecture on Exodus. Any insight on why the Israelites were not eating pork in Goshen before the law? Just curious. Yeah. The simple response is that it wasn't culturally what they did. Now, it wasn't a law given to them yet, but when they go into the desert, God says, okay, you're not eating pork. Continue that. Great. You're sleeping with your neighbor's wife. Stop that part. Let's not do that part, though. So he kind of gives them better guidelines. But he's working in the culture. So, for example, as I point out in that lecture, the Ark of the Covenant was built using Egyptian customs, like of what ritual furniture looked like. God can use customs of the day to do things. Likewise, he's going to do that as well there. For a layman, is learning the minimal facts argument sufficient if I'm asked for evidence for the resurrection when sharing the gospel? I'd say it's a good starting place, but I wouldn't say that's sufficient. You got to use some more of the maximal facts, I'd say. Like, when I give a resurrection argument, I give it in like 5-10 minutes. I'm going to bring in the conversion of James, the empty tomb, the women discovering it. I mean, like, there's no reason you can't.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
So I'm personally of the mind that the minimal facts argument just doesn't work. Like, it might work to convince somebody, but like, if I'm being as objective as I can, I don't think minimal facts works as a good argument for the resurrection. That being said, this is my main fear, like putting that aside. If you evangelize to somebody using the minimal facts argument, they become convinced of it, but then later on go and run into people like internet skeptics arguing against it, arguing against the resurrection, and they need something more, but all they have is the minimal facts argument. What are they going to do? Whoever you evangelize to, if they have the minimal facts argument and they're convinced, that's when you go, dude, if you think that's good, check this out, and go towards the maximalist case.
Yeah. Have you guys looked into the miracle testimony of Barbara Snyder? It seems particularly compelling to me. If so, any thoughts?
I have a reel on it.
Okay, yeah, we got a reel. So go to our TikTok or Instagram.
And I'll have an upcoming video. I'll probably do a few of these, by the way, like the one that you told me about, Mike. I'll probably just periodically do some long form videos going into some of these cases a little bit more in depth. So like I'll have an upcoming like 5 miracle claims or 5 miracles that show Christianity is true, and Barbara Snyder's on there. So
gotcha.
Be looking for that.
How do I find the deconstruction debate I teach? Just search Tim Pool Inspiring Philosophy, and it should be one of the things that pops up there for sure. I'm sure it's on YouTube still. It was on Tim Pool's channel. One of his channels, that is. Hey, Than, thanks for turning me on, not in the Zoot sense, to Big John Steele. He has been bark-pilled yet. Has he been bark-pilled yet? It's only a matter of time.
He's not going to be bark-pilled. It's okay.
You can't, listen, sir, you can't say that stuff without saying not in the Zoot sense, okay? You got to be very careful about this stuff. You don't want to give the wrong impression. Thank you. Can you please convince Mike to kiss the homies goodnight and to read us a bedtime story? No, Aaron, this is gross. I'm very disappointed in you. We're not doing that for sure.
Are you trying to get me fired, dude?
Yes. Yes, he is. Thank you for the very generous $50 super chat. Much appreciated. Hey, y'all, please pray for a Muslim man who has been regularly attending our church with his Christian girlfriend. Please pray that he encounters Jesus, that we reflect Christ through the Holy Spirit, that he acknowledges Allah as Father. Absolutely. We'll pray for that. Good to hear. Keep up the good work. Keep working on that stuff. That's what we want to hear. All right. Let's bring up Certain Speaks. Are you there? Certain Speaks?
Dude, I'm having a really hard time sitting still today. I'm sorry.
It's because you're special needs fan. What do you expect?
Oh, man.
Certain Speaks. Certain Speaks going once. Certain Speaks going twice. All right, man. Not sure what happened with him. Oh, he says video audio is so glitchy. You have to try later. Okay, so he's having technical difficulties, meaning he's running. Sorry, I've been hanging around Muslims too much. That's the only logical explanation for why he did not come up. Whoa, Truth Prevails. Are you there?
Yellow.
Okay, yeah. There's a lot of audio noise. I don't know if you're like driving in a car or something.
He's not driving. He's just running that fast.
Is it too much?
I can hear like myself like looping back through whatever mic you're using.
Yeah. All right, maybe I'll try again in a little bit.
Okay, just maybe fix that. I don't know. The Blade. Grayson, are you there?
Oh, hello.
Z-Blade.
Hello.
Is that like an anime reference, or do you like swords?
Actually, it's just a name I thought up, actually.
Oh, fair enough. It's pretty dope. I like it.
No reference. Thanks.
So
what's with the special needs thing?
Oh, I'm just stupid, man.
Yeah, don't you get it?
I guess not, but cool.
So,
Sorry. I'm a bit
you-
nervous today. Sorry, it's been my first time up here. But yeah.
No worries. Do you deny that Jesus is God then?
Well, actually, no, I don't. But
Okay.
I guess I'm not considered to be a, quote, Christian, according to a lot of people.
Why?
Okay.
Well, when I identify what church I'm on, you probably understand why we're called Mormons.
Oh, okay. You're a Mormon. Okay.
Okay.
Well, yeah, you're more than welcome to talk to us today. That qualifies. So then what is because we don't think Mormons are Christians, to be honest. We deny that Mormons are Christians. You're outside of orthodoxy due to certain heretical beliefs specifically. So, but we're more than happy to talk with you, man.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I guess my question then would be like, well, then why we're not considered Christian?
Okay, so do you believe there is one God?
Well, that depends on what you mean by that.
That's why you're not a Christian, right there.
Exactly.
That's why, because if you were, you'd be like, yes.
Ask for terms.
Well, no. What Mike's getting at is because you came in here, you said, well, yeah, I think Jesus is God. But
Yeah.
that thing that you like, you know who you're coming to talk to,
Mhm.
right? And
Right.
you know what we
I guess
mean when we say Jesus is God. And you mean a very different thing in that by that phrase than what we do, yet you still say that you think he's God.
But, okay,
We
yeah.
mean just
but,
it's same words, completely different concepts. That's why Mike is saying, yeah, this is why we don't think that you're a Christian. That's all.
okay. But just to be sure, you believe one being God, right?
There is one being that is God. Yes.
Okay. That's what I thought, yeah.
So do you think there's one being that can be called God, or do you think there are multiple gods?
Well, we believe that they're separate beings, but they are
Right.
considered God as in like unity and purpose and, you know,
Right.
but that-
You have
best title, but yeah.
yeah, so you have a relational view of divinity. It's not like an actual thing that something is, right?
Yeah, I suppose
Divinity
so.
is just unity.
Yeah, I suppose,
yeah.
yeah. You can say
This
that.
is why, if I don't know if you've seen this video of mine, but I made a video how many months ago now, Mike, where I argued that I think Mormonism is actually atheism, right?
Oh boy, yeah.
Well, because you kind of just granted the whole thesis, right?
Well, that's the thing, though. That's the reason why I had an issue with that video, was because defying God as in like, well, we already know objectively that this is who God is, and then I was like, but I mean, do we really? Because it seems like that it all hinges on, well, is God this and this and this and this? Therefore, if you don't believe that, then therefore you're atheist. And it's like, well, I can look up Google and our dictionary to see like, well, atheism means no belief in God whatsoever or any divinity. And that's clearly not who we are. So
Right, but what do atheists mean? Like, right? What is it referencing when atheists say the word God, but that they don't believe in?
I mean, that they don't believe like in a supreme being, that they don't believe in someone who, well, creator or
Not just no creator, right? Like they reject the pantheons, they reject all this other stuff, right? There is
Yeah.
no distinction between the human and something else other than a
they
human,
don't believe in
right?
anything then.
Well, that's not
Which-
true. Like they just don't believe in any spiritual stuff in general, right? There's atheists out there that think ghosts exist and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure,
At the
I
very
suppose
end,
so.
but like, here's the fundamental thing, right? You, as a Mormon, reject the idea that there's a distinction at all between a human nature and a divine nature, right? Like
Yeah,
there is no divine nature by your own view, by your own admission. You said that it's not a nature thing to be divine. Divinity is just a relationship.
I guess, but one becomes divine through exaltation, we believe too, which is who
Okay,
God the Father
so
is.
what do you mean by that? Because
As in
certain Mormons means different things by that as well, right? Some Mormons are gonna think exaltation is just a raise in the hierarchy. Like, what do you mean by exaltation then?
As in inheriting all that God has according to Scripture.
What does that mean?
I suppose that since He has all authority, all power, all divinity, I suppose so, in that sense.
So the moment we start getting divinity, so the moment we start getting authority, power, hierarchy, we ascend to godhood. We are getting more and more exalted to godhood. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Let me think. Sorry, my mind's going blank.
No, you're good. And also, like, no pressure here, because I got a little aggressive there. You're a little nervous. I get it. So I want to dial back.
Yeah.
I'm just passionate.
But
Under your view, right? Then all that means is that like Mike has divinity that I don't because he's my boss.
Oh, we don't mean it that way, actually. But like again,
well, that's what
I
it
have
would
to kind
mean
of look it up myself.
Like, that's what exaltation
exactly
is. If this exaltation view of divinity, right, is hierarchy, power, all this other stuff. When the more of that you get, the more divine you are.
Of course, that's not all there is, but I may have to look at it further as to like what exactly it is, because right now I'm kind of drawing the blank on that one.
Yeah,
to be honest. But yeah, and I'm sure that a lot of people in the audience probably where at church I am like, no, it's this. It's like, sorry guys.
I have a question about your beliefs though. Do you say that like El and Yahweh are two different beings then?
Yeah. I mean, our view, it has to be, because otherwise it doesn't quite make any sense.
What if I could show you a verse where they're clearly identified as the same being?
I mean, sure, yeah.
Okay. Let me go to Numbers 23, and I'll show you what I
Numbers 23.
Yep, Numbers 23. So this is when Balaam is talking. I think there's something important going on here we should discuss. So I'm just going to share my screen up here. So Numbers 23. So this is what we see. So so this is him pronouncing. He says, "From Aram Balak has brought me, the king of Moab from the eastern mountains." Now, Aram Balak is the king of Moab. So you can see it is his parallelism, Hebrew parallelism. He repeats the same thing in the second line, just using different words. "Come, curse Jacob for me, and come, denounce Israel." So again, you see it's repeated there. Jacob and Israel are the same nation. "How can I curse who God has not cursed? How can I denounce who the Lord has not denounced?" So God and the Lord again the same. "Far from the top of the crags I see him, far from the hills, behold him." See, they're again repeating. "Behold a people dwelling alone and not counting itself among the nations." Again, repeating. Verse 10, again, repeating Jacob and Israel. But verse 8 is interesting. So here's what's interesting about verse 8. I'm going to share this tab instead. This is the interlinear. "How can I curse who El has not cursed? How can I denounce who Yahweh has not denounced?" So as you can see here, El and Yahweh are identified as the same being.
Let's see. Yeah, denounce curse. Okay. I mean, I don't deny that is the case with like El, God kind of thing. I guess that's not exactly my issue. It's more of like that I can acknowledge that God is like a title for, Yahweh. But I mean, there are other instances where it seems to be a different being, though. I can pull you up the scripture where it seems to be the case, if that's okay with you.
I mean, you can, but do you acknowledge here it's very clear that El and Yahweh are the same being? Because we should take all of scripture together. This explicitly shows El and Yahweh are the same being. If you have other places where that you think they're not, okay, well, maybe it's talking about two persons. I mean, all of the one God. But here we clearly see El and Yahweh are the same being. So we need to take everything into context.
Okay. Yeah. But again, like trying to see like what the context is for this, though, because I've seen instances where it says the Most High God as well as being a title. And here it just says God, I've noticed.
Is the place you want to go to Deuteronomy 32?
Actually, it is, yeah.
Yep. See, man, I've done this for a while, so I know exactly.
Well, I guess I'm interested in what you have to say about it then.
I have done a lot on Deuteronomy 32. Hang on, I typed that wrong.
All right.
I did a whole video called Polytheism in the Bible, a huge section discussing the verses you want to bring up. When the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he divided mankind, he fixed the borders of the people according to the number of the sons of God. But Yahweh's portion is his people. Jacob is allotted heritage. Yeah. Now, here's the first problem. It doesn't say El. It just says Elion in verse 8, meaning Most High. That's a title. Okay. So we don't see them being distinguished. And like scholars like Otto Eichfeld, as far back as the 50s, noted that this is not using any sort of like aggressive language. It's clearly saying it's just passive language. The people of Jacob have become the inheritance of Yahweh, but it never definitively shows a distinction here between Most High and Yahweh. And even scholars like Mark S. Smith will know if you take this in context of the whole passage, it's clearly identifying Yahweh as the Most High. And so if you go down to the bottom, it says, "See now that I, even I, am He, and there is no God beside me." This is Yahweh.
You're talking about Yahweh, right?
Yeah. So if this identifies himself as the Most High, because there's no God beside him. That means he's the Most High. So he cannot just be some sort of lesser being here when you take verse 8 and 9 in context with the whole poem.
Okay. I guess then my kind of confusion would be, he's looking at these verses here. It says that like the Most High gave the nations according to the number of the sons of God, and then Yahweh got Israel as his inheritance. So in that kind of case, right there, it seems like they're separate beings. One of them has everything, and then it gives Yahweh Israel. Right? Am I seeing things or?
Well, here's the thing. The text does not explicitly say that. We have to sort of read that in there. Otto Eichfeld just says, the Hebrew just says, the people of Jacob have become his inheritance. It's not, doesn't ever use any like language that says he was given it by another being. So it's passive language. It's just they become his inheritance. So there's no explicit language in here, excuse me, where it says the Most High gave Yahweh a people.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is like, if you just looked at verses 8 and 9, it's compatible with your view and my view. But when we look at it in context, it's only compatible with my view, because again, the full poem of Deuteronomy 32 identifies Yahweh as the Most High.
Okay. I may have to look into it further, I suppose.
Sure.
I still disagree with that, though.
You can still also look at Deuteronomy 4. So here the author makes it even more explicit. And beware lest you raise your eyes to the heavens, and when you see the sun and the moon and the stars and all the hosts of heaven, you be drawn away and bow down to them and serve them, things that the Lord Yahweh your God has allotted to all the peoples under the whole heaven. See, the echoing the Deuteronomy 32 language. But the Lord has taken you and brought you out of the iron furnace, out of Egypt, to be a people of his own inheritance, as you are to this day. So you can see the Lord is the one who allots, and then the Lord gets Jacob as his inheritance. So this makes it even more explicit in the same book. Now, critical scholars will say, well, this is a later author. Okay, but you're a Mormon, so you would take this all as scripture. It clearly identifies Yahweh as the one who is allotting the nations in conjunction with Deuteronomy 32, which we can go back to.
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about what you just said about. So that was Deuteronomy also you were showing there?
Yeah, that's Deuteronomy 4, verses 19 and 20.
Okay. Yeah, and you were saying that some people say, like, well, it's not scripture, I suppose.
No. No. Critical scholars, so like atheists, non-Christian scholars, they'll be like, well, Deuteronomy 32 is an earlier layer. Well, it's even more complicated than that. They'll be like, okay, Deuteronomy, like you read Mark Smith, so they'll say there's an earlier layer, not even there, that we lost, that Deuteronomy 32 is echoing. But by the time you get to Deuteronomy 32, according to Mark Smith, the guy's a monotheist saying, yes, Yahweh is the Most High. And then a later author writes Deuteronomy 4, which makes it even clearer. So they're positing all sorts of layers there.
Yeah.
I've read a lot on this one.
Yeah. I can tell. Yeah, thanks. It's just interesting because the Masoretic text just says sons, like children of Israel instead of sons of God. I kind of wonder why that change. Seems kind of a weird change to make.
It is a weird change. It's not in the Dead Sea Scrolls. It says sons of Elohim. I think the change actually might reflect later rabbinic ideas about Gentiles are supposed to be the servants / SLAVEs of the Israelites in the eschaton. So I take the idea that maybe they did that to try to show that like the nations are going to be allotted among the sons of Israel. Wink, wink. They're going to be ours.
Okay. All right. Sorry, someone just posted a chat here.
No worries. Listen, we've given you a lot to think of. We don't want to like bombard you and be like, just start interrogating you, but we would really appreciate if you take this stuff, think about it, and come back at a later date.
Well, sure. I think I actually wanted to ask something else because it's more towards the New Testament as well.
Yeah, but this will be the last question. Then we're going to move on to another guest.
Okay. Because the same kind of thing, whereas like Jesus and the Father are one being, you also believe that they have the same kind of authority, right? Like equal authority.
No, not authority. Ontology, yes, but not authority. We would say the Father has ultimate authority.
Okay. So like every time, like, because I heard like Christians say like, yes, we believe that it's like the same authority because that's what it says in the creeds, for instance.
No, what creed says they have this? What? I don't know of a creed that would say that.
Yeah,
like equal and I guess this.
I believe in one God, the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and of all things visible and invisible, and in one Lord Jesus Christ, the only begotten Son of God, begotten of his Father before all worlds, God of God, light of light, very God of very God, begotten, not made, being of one substance with the Father, by whom all things were made, who for us men and for all salvation came down and was incarnate by the Holy Spirit of the Virgin Mary, and was made. No, there's nothing in there about, in the Nicene Creed at least, about having the same authority.
Maybe I'm thinking about the later ones.
I don't think they're.
I'm
I
sure
don't
that I
think there's
heard
a single
somewhere,
creed that talks about
but yeah, because
authority.
people actually do
I
have.
think the mistake you're probably making is you're thinking authority is an intrinsic property rather than a relational property, and you're just dumping that in with divinity.
Maybe, but I'm not sure. But yeah, but I was just saying that like all throughout the New Testament seems like that Christ is also always answering to the Father. It's like I
Of
have
course.
no authority of my
Mhm.
own, but the
course.
will of him that sent me, and that God the Father is the only true God, and then I'm the one who's been sent. You know, it's kind of
You're
deal
going to
with-
make a great Trinitarian soon, because you're absolutely correct there.
I mean, thanks for the flattery, but I don't know if I'm going to be a Trinitarian because I still don't believe in the Trinitarian doctrine.
Well,
Sorry, everybody, but
Check out some of
know.
the stuff we talked about. Check out the creeds, what they say. But I mean, like that's what we of course we say the Father has final authority. So like that's what
Well,
the Trinitarian theology I was always taught. If you read the Fathers, I'm not saying every layman Christian is going to get it right, but that's what we believe. So
all right.
anyway, thanks for coming,
Well,
man.
thanks for-
Hope that,
Yeah, thank you
hope
for
you come
having me
back.
on.
Good
Yeah,
job, bro.
thank you.
I know you were nervous. Good job.
Friend, God is spirit, and it's the spirit that gives life. Jesus is man, and so therefore Jesus can't be God. Any short phrase to rebut him in the short.
What?
Just because Jesus has a human nature, that does not mean he lacks a divine nature. It's not an either or. So that's a fallacy. It's a false dichotomy.
What even is this argument?
It's God's spirit. It gives life, but Jesus is a man, therefore he can't be God. It's a false dichotomy. Jesus is both man and God. It's not the option to be
I see what
either
you- oh my
spirit,
gosh.
aka God, or man. So it's not good.
Yeah. Always remember the difference in predication between natures and subjects, guys.
What would you say to Jews who reject Jesus because he did not fulfill all the prophecies from the Old Testament, i.e., the Lion and the Lamb? I would argue a post-millennialist position, as I am a post-millennialist, and I would hang on. Here's what I would do.
Why'd you say that like you're Australian?
Hang on,
Hang on.
hang on, mate. Hang on,
Shrimps
mate.
on the barbie.
Oi, mate. Yeah. Okay, hold on. Let's see here. Playlists. Let me put up these playlists here on our channel. So here's our Super Bass playlist. I would show them this playlist here. So the benefits of Christianity, how Christianity changed the world, ended slavery, saved children, created human rights, educated the world, created science, stopped pederasty. I'd show them all these videos. Why? Because the argument I would make is that Christianity is doing those things slowly but surely, and Judaism has not. What is the actual ideology that is making the world a better place? It is by far clearly Christianity, as all of these videos show. So you like science, you like education, you like human rights, you can thank Christianity for a lot of that stuff. So that's what I would say. I would say, yeah, that is going to be fulfilled. It's currently being fulfilled through the church age. Give it time. Not like you guys are doing any better. Who's the most likely to fulfill this? As of now, it's going to be the body of Christ. Wait a minute, I forgot this one. I agree, working within the culture. Are you familiar with Dr. Louise Marcus' work? If so, what is your opinion? Just picked up a few of his books. That's the first time I've heard that name, so no, unfortunately, I'm not familiar with that.
I said something. I don't. It's not ringing a bell. It's familiar, but
as ancient Near Eastern scholars have noted in response to the documentary hypothesis, double names for deities was a literary convention in the ancient Near East. Yes, it was. Kenneth Kitchen wrote a ton of that in his book, The Ancient Orient. I forget what the full title was, but something like that. For the God equal spirit, but not man. Jesus, blue is color. The sky is atmosphere, not a color. Therefore, the atmosphere is not blue, just several category errors. That's a good analogy. I like that. Blue is a color. The sky is atmosphere, not a color. Therefore, you can't say the sky is blue. Yeah. Got another generous super chat here. Oh, it's from the our guest that was just on. Thanks for having me on and for taking time with me on my first time. I'm not a debater by any means, but it was great to talk with you both. Been waiting to for some time now. Best of luck on your endeavors. Hope to see you both next time. Yep, you come back anytime, sir. And we are not going to bombard you or interrogate you. We're just happy to have a conversation. That's all it's about. But yeah, come back anytime. We appreciate it. Let's bring in our next guest here, Balotelli.
Balotelli. I hope I'm picturing him doing this the whole time as he's talking.
All right. I'm going to refresh, guys, on TikTok. I'm going to refresh again because once again, the audio is not working on TikTok because it's stupid. So I'm going to refresh. I'm so done with using TikTok Studio. I don't know why this sucks. So I'm going to reset the live on TikTok Studio because it's stupid. I don't know why it does this to us. So Balotelli, if you're not there, I'm going to put you back down. We'll bring up Gustav. Gustav, are you there? Gustav.
Yes. Hello. Sorry.
How you doing?
Hello. Hi.
Yeah.
Hello. First of all, I'm sorry for my accent. I'm not.
Yeah, you should be. No, it's fine.
Stop.
Yeah.
Hey,
Okay.
Do not apologize for your accent, man. You're fine. Come on.
Okay. Thank you.
You're safe.
I saw you guys were having this stream, and I was wondering because, like, for the last couple of years, I've been looking into Christianity, and I was wondering, like, I've also been looking into philosophy. I've not studied it at all. Next year, I will have a year to study it at my school, which will be interesting. But I was like wondering, like, what are like the evidence to support like the Bible? Because I've been looking into Platonism and Neoplatonism, and I find it like very convincing. But like, I don't know like how to take the step from Plato's like idea world and then go into like Christianity and like to believe in the Bible and to believe in Jesus. I hope that makes sense.
Well, we would say that you have to look at the evidence specific to Christianity as to, like, for example, the evidence Jesus rose from the dead. So that's what we would say. You need to look at the actual evidence for Christianity, go through all of that, and then realize that there's a ton of evidence for it and believe in Christianity because of that, not because of you can connect it to Neoplatonism or anything like that.
Yeah, well, what are the evidence? Because like I know, like the apostles, like why would they like risk their own life for something like which was false? Like why would they do that if it was false? Like I don't know if like there's anything else because maybe it could all be made up. Like I don't know. Like
have you
the Bible.
Have you looked into like the arguments? Well, actually, let me back up just a little bit, right? Because it sounds like you're not in university yet, right?
No, whatever comes before in American. I don't know. In Danish, it's called a gymnasium.
I just want to get this out of the way because the overwhelming majority of the time when people talk about the word evidence, there's a fuzzy idea of what that even means in the first place, right? So let's just define that, and so that way we can agree on that before we even talk about anything. I take evidence to just be any sort of an observation, a data point, experience, stuff like that. That's just more expected on one hypothesis over a different hypothesis. Does that jive with you?
Yeah, I would say it's whatever sounds like the most convincing, whatever is most likely to be like the truth.
Okay,
and it
so
could be.
Well, let's talk about that. I can give you evidence for Christianity right now.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. I would love to see that.
Okay. Let me put my slides up. I'm fixing the stupid TikTok live. Man, TikTok sucks. Say something, Than.
Yeah, well, okay, well,
All right,
while Mike's
it's working.
Okay, never mind.
That's I just need to do a sound check. It's working.
Gonna give him a miracle case.
Well, let me do this, and then you can do a miracle case. All right. So I have a short little presentation I give on the evidence Jesus rose from the dead. Why is there two? Whatever. Okay. Freaking TikTok, man, being stupid. All right. So evidence Jesus rose from the dead. Let's go through this. So here's the issue you have with Christianity. Most religions start because one guy gets private revelations and they go, aha, I'm convinced now. You are, therefore, everyone should believe me because I'm the prophet. Believe me. But it's different. Jesus was publicly executed, buried in a public tomb, and appeared to multiple people. That's something that can be tested based on evidence because there are different witnesses. There's different pieces left behind for us to evaluate. So let's get the cultural background. The important thing to remember is no Jewish messianic movement ever claimed their Messiah died and rose, and that proved that they are the Messiah and also God. We know about Judas the Galilean, Simon and Throngs, Theudas, the Egyptian prophet, Simon Bar Giora, Simon Bar Kokhba. Only the Christians said their Messiah rose to atone for sins of the world. Very different. So it does not emerge out of just Jewish beliefs about the Messiah. They believed there was going to be a conquering Messiah come to defeat Rome, not one who was going to come die and atone for the sins of the Jews and the Gentiles. That's not what they were expecting. So in 33 AD, something happened. Jesus was crucified. A couple months later, the disciples are proclaiming Jesus resurrected. So this is the historical conundrum. How do we go from Jesus being crucified to the disciples proclaiming he resurrected? Well, we can start with evidence for the reliability of the Gospels. You can go through our series if you want to see that. There's a lot of good stuff there. But just all scholars will basically agree for the most part. Most of them will say the disciples had to experience something that convinced them that he rose from the dead. So Bart Ehrman says, I don't doubt at all that some disciples claim this. Paul, writing about 25 years later, indicates that this was what they claimed. And I don't think he's making it up. Paula Fredrickson, okay, again, these are not Christians, but that she says they must have seen something. I wasn't there. I don't know what they saw, but I do know that as a historian, they must have seen something. So here's what we have. We have several sources have accounts of people claiming to see Jesus rise from the dead. It's in Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts, 1 Corinthians 15. Josephus even agrees, and so do early sermons preserved in Acts. The claims are that Jesus appeared to many people he knew over long periods of time in a multi-sensory form. And these dates... Yeah, what's up?
I'm sorry. I've heard of Josephus, but wasn't it something like it was fabricated? Like some of the text where Josephus talks about the Christians were fabricated later.
Scholarship is shifting on that thanks to the work of Thomas Schmidt lately, who did a whole word analysis on Josephus and found that the majority of it seems to be authentic. It also does some of the parts they claim were inauthentic where one part Josephus claims he was the Christ. And Thomas Schmidt points out if this was a Christian adding interpolations into it, they would say he is the Christ because they believe he is the Messiah, not that he was. So Schmidt thinks that there may have just been a word that dropped out. He was believed to be the Christ, but the rest of it is authentic.
Okay.
Yeah. You can check out his book. It's really good. It's called Jesus and Josephus. But here's one of the reasons we know that the apostles believe this within the lifetime of the eyewitnesses. This is the creed in 1 Corinthians 15. For I delivered to you what I also received, that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the scriptures, that he was buried, that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the scriptures, that he appeared to Cephas, then the 12, then he appeared to more than 500 brothers at one time. So this creed basically is an early creed, which dates within a few years of Pentecost. Gerald Collins says he doesn't know very few that would even date it to the 40s. It's very early on. Mike Licona notes it's widely accepted to go back to the Jerusalem church. And there's widespread agreement that this is a very, very early tradition within the first few years of Pentecost. I believe Gerd Ludemann said it's like within 2 years of when Jesus was crucified. So very early on, they're believing Jesus rose from the dead. This is not something that could have been made up at a later date. They believed Jesus rose from the dead, and they believed that he appeared to multiple people very early on. And this also proved that he had risen from the dead. And even skeptics like James and Paul converted. So James was not a follower of Jesus during Jesus's life, but he converted because of an alleged appearance, the creed of 1 Corinthians says. Paul was also a persecutor of Christians. He became convinced Jesus rose from the dead. So not only did Jesus appear to friends, he appeared to foes as well. And they were convinced not that Jesus was a ghost, not that Jesus had been taken to heaven, but that he had physically walked out of the tomb and was a living, breathing body. Nick Meter, who's a psychologist, notes that when people have like bereavement hallucinations, they rarely will have them in multi-sensory form. Typically have them in like one modality. So you have like a visual hallucination or an auditory hallucination, but you won't have one where you like, you multi-sensory. Yeah, go. Do you have a question?
Oh, no, sorry, just clearing up my...
Yeah, he says most non-clinical participants are aware that they are not perceiving real sights or sounds. So he also says that when people hallucinate, most recognize they're not actually experiencing a real physical person. What they're experiencing is a hallucination or a vision She says that no matter how vivid such visions may be, to the extent that some people behave in response to them, reality testing, they know that these experiences are not reflective of reality. So most people, when they have these kind of experiences, they're not going, oh, yes, my dead father walked out of the grave and is here physically. So this is what a lot of that research shows. And of course, peer-reviewed work on hallucinations also reports that most manifest in one sensory mode, and that multimodal hallucinations are exceptionally rare, let alone group hallucinations. So the disciples experienced something. It was multimodal. They experienced them in group settings. And they were convinced Jesus rose from the dead. It does not match the idea they just had a hallucination and then posited that a physical body walked out of the tomb. Also, when it comes to the empty tomb, all the early reports that speak of the tomb say it was first discovered by women. This was an embarrassing fact for the early church. In fact, you can cite all sorts of sources showing this, this was actually an argument Celsus used against the Christians. He's like, you just have a half frantic woman who came up with this. You can't trust her. So they all reported that, hey, this was discovered by women, which was an embarrassing fact. That supports its authenticity because they wouldn't make something up like that in the culture. Remember, the creed doesn't mention the women. They just leave them out. But when they tell the narratives of how the tomb was discovered, they have to include the women because they were such a pivotal point. And N.T. Wright says there's no early Christians would never have made this up. That would have doomed their testimony in that ancient culture. But for us today, it's powerful. Also, all early reports tell us the empty tomb was first discovered by women, but also the Sanhedrin did not have the body. And what we seem to get from the response from Jews is that they stole the body. So even in the dialogue of Trypho, written in the 2nd century with Justin Martyr, he says, you're still telling that people that the Jews stole the body. And he says that just didn't happen. So even the Jews are subtly admitting the body was missing, but they're just saying it was stolen. But there's also a problem because when Jesus died, it was during the Passover. And the city, as Josephus tells us, was flooded with pilgrims. People were, this was like New York City on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve. You're going to sneak a dead body out during that? Very, very unlikely. Also, the disciples were immediately proclaiming this in Jerusalem. Forgers and fakers go elsewhere, like Utah. These guys stayed there and they said, you crucified your Messiah, where the opponents had the means and the motives to debunk them. We also know that the eyewitnesses, the people who knew if this was fake or not, voluntarily suffered. So, for example, they were ostracized by their communities. Early sources talk about witnesses experiencing suffering. Paul himself talks about experiencing suffering and persecution. So here's the argument. What you have to posit to avoid a resurrection. The naturalist has to say the disciples experienced multimodal group hallucinations. This happened for the women at the tomb and for the disciples, maybe more than once. Then skeptics like James and Paul also experienced something, and they were convinced they weren't just hallucinating, but that Jesus physically rose. They made up a story of women discovering the tomb, which would have destroyed their ancient case. They came up with a belief that was completely unlike what was believed in the cultural background about the Messiah. They claimed this in the very place where their enemies had the means and the motives to debunk them, because they would have had the body. And then they voluntarily suffered for a claim they should have known to be false, and the tomb was empty. So at the end of the day, extraordinary claims requires extraordinary evidence. We argue the best explanation of all this data is that Jesus rose from the dead.
Yeah, that sounds very compelling, I would say. It's also like, I've been looking into all this online Christian apologetics debates, and it also sounds very convincing. But when, for example, I talked with my friends, one of them, they are very materialistic and atheist, in the sense they don't believe in anything else out of the material. They don't seem to be convinced at all, and I just find it very weird. And when you explain this case, and also when I show people some of these things, they are not convinced. It also leads me to wonder if there's something that I'm missing, since I'm the only one convinced. Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna say this in the nicest way possible. One of the silliest things you could do is base whether or not something is true based off of the bad reasoning of other people that don't know how to reason properly. Because I'm assuming they're just like these are your friends. They're not people that are trained in the structure of reasoning. They're not trained in the history. They're not trained in philosophy, right? So don't gaslight yourself based off of what your friends do. That's all I'm going to try to tell. I'm telling you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
that's actually a magic trick. This is what magicians do in like Las Vegas. They fool you with their confidence to make you think they're doing something different, where it's just like a little hand trick. So they distract you with their confidence appearance while they do the magic trick. Don't be fooled by confidence. Follow the evidence regardless of where it leads.
Yeah. Also, like one thing, one of my friends, his brother, he died very early on after he was born, like in the first couple of weeks of, I think it was cancer or something else horrible. And like me and him, like we've talked about it a bunch of times, like how can it be like if the Christian God is the true God or any like God, which is, I don't know, like logic, like the Platonist God, which is supposed to be all good. Like how could that have happened? Because it wasn't like any outside source. It was pretty much just like, I don't know, like God, like wanting to give the child like the like this horrible disease, and just like really like weird and hard for me to like accept if that's what happened.
I think we need to stop in assuming that everything that happens, God is directly doing. God created a natural world where there are natural processes that unfold. So God is not God is our father. C.S. Lewis said it like this: God is our father, not our grandfather. He's not going to baby us. Okay, there are processes in the world that are unfolding. He invites us to participate in them to make the world a better place. He grieves for the same stuff that we grieve for. And that's why he wants to resurrect us and give us eternity, paradise. But these processes are still unfolding. He's still working with us to get rid of sin. And when we're worthy, when he makes us worthy, that is, through sanctification, then the world will be transformed and all will be raised. But this is not the world God wanted. You can check out videos we have on the channel, like The Problem of Evil, A Christian Response, or another video, The Problem of Suffering, A Christian Response, where we go into this in more detail. But these are not things that God is directly doing.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. That makes sense. Yeah.
So what we want to ask you is, are you in a church? Are you going to get baptized? Are you going to become a Christian?
Where I come from in Denmark, the church is a part of the state, so pretty much automatically you get baptized in an evangelical Lutheran church.
That's great.
Yeah. Well, it's not very Christian now. It has been very
I know
secularized.
that's my problem with state-run churches. So don't go to one of those. Go find an actual Bible teaching church that's not a state-run church and join that.
Yeah, well, since last September, I've been going to, I don't know if it's called local, but like the nearest Catholic church I've been going to. I don't know if you endorse those, don't you? If you're like a Protestant or Orthodox or a Catholic.
We don't say our denomination. We endorse Protestant, Catholic, and Orthodox churches.
Fair enough. Yeah, well, like I talked to them a bunch, and they like it's very, like it makes very much sense for me, like the Catholic Church with like the Bible, because beforehand, like I thought you need the Bible as like evidence or as authority to teach, but then like I realized there has to be like some authority to create the Bible, as it didn't come down from heaven, like with like the Muslims. So like there must be authority before that, and the Catholics
didn't come down for them either. I mean, it didn't come down. they just like
I'm
the
sorry.
state did, yeah. You know.
Wait, what do you mean?
Yeah, but yeah, no, that's great. We're glad you're doing that. Keep going to church. We need to move on to get other callers here, but I hope we helped you, and we hope you keep going to church and remain Christian. It's good to hear from you.
Yeah. The presentation, is there any way to like get that online to maybe like show my friends?
Actually, yes. So hang on. There's the presentation, I gave it before. You can also just show them this stream, because this is going to be online forever.
Wait. Oh, okay.
I mean,
I'm going to copyright strike you, Mike.
Yeah. So, but if we have another channel called IP Stream Clips, and it's right here, the shortest presentation for the resurrection of Christ. As you can see, like we uploaded it like 2 months ago, just there. But I mean, like you can, of course, you can of course just show them what we showed you today. This stream is going to be online. Just come back to like the hour and 10-minute mark, and you'll come up and they can listen to that. Or you could watch it here on the IP Stream Clips channel.
Okay, thank you. I'll do that then.
Thanks.
Yes.
Who did you have a screen recording you put up here in the bottom?
No.
Somebody did that. Okay. We'll get to that. Elijah Apologetics. You all should
I told
go
him to call me tomorrow.
Subscribe. Yeah, you can just give him my cell number and I will get him it.
Mike gave me permission to dox him. Sorry.
To Elijah. And then I'll get him the presentation. But yeah, he can have it for sure. And then he can use it however he wants.
I have a better one that I wanted to give him.
You can give him both. I mean,
fair enough.
I think it'll be okay. All right, let's see if Balotelli is ready. Are you ready there, Balotelli?
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Yes.
Yes. You know, like where you said Jesus says he's God in Matthew 7:21.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of videos of the Dawa guys. They use this like the verse to show like this is what Jesus is gonna say to the Christians when he comes back. Have you seen that like that?
Wait, what?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what they
they've
say.
seen that. Yeah. Yeah, they're trying to say like this is clearly talking to the Christians.
Yeah, like where it says, Lord, Lord, he will not prophesy in your name. Then they're going to say, who prophesies in the name of Jesus? Muslims or Christians? So what's your response to that when they say like that?
Jesus is just speaking generally. He's not like, this is so ridiculous because Jesus isn't saying
what happened to
my
him?
actual follower. He fell because it's so stupid. Like we would not say Jesus
I'm healed. It's a miracle.
We would not say Jesus is even referring to the Muslims there. We would say he's referring to false prophets. Like I would say every time I read that verse, I think of like the guy that runs like the Prosperity Church or like the mega church. And he's like doing things in the name of Jesus, but he doesn't actually believe. It's for hypocrites. To claim it's for religious identification is missing the point of the chapter. It's not about religious identification. It's about hypocrisy. That's what he's calling out. So it'd be people who identify as Christian, but don't actually believe in Christianity. They just do the motions. They do certain things to pretend they're Christian. So they're not even getting the actual context correct.
Yeah. I saw where I got that from. Like Ali Dawa when he's in Leicester Square and he's debating Christians, he always uses that verse to show like the Jesus is going to reject Christians when he come back because they worship him instead of Almighty Allah.
It's ironic because he says in the verse, it's not everyone who comes to me and says, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, which shows you that's at least a condition. You got to acknowledge him as Yahweh to get there. I mean, so it's kind of funny that they don't understand that. But yeah. Anyway, man, we got a bunch of guests to get to.
Yes,
I assume
that's what
you're
all
a Christian. Yeah.
Yes, I'm Christian. I'm Christian Orthodox.
Awesome.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes,
Good to
bye.
hear from you, man. All right. One of the guests below has like a screen recording they have put on here, and I don't know which one it is, but we'll see. I love you, bro. Glory be to Jesus Christ. I'm Byzantine Catholic. That's great. Absolutely good to hear that. And is confessing sins to priest requirement for salvation? It makes me feel awkward to think of doing this, but I want to join a church. I don't think it's required for salvation, but if you're in a church and they're telling you should do it, you should do it as part of your sanctification. Follow your church authorities. But I mean, like, you could just say it's clearly not required for salvation because Abraham didn't do it. The thief on the cross did it. So Jesus can still save people without that. But if you're in a church, that's what your authority is telling you to do. Listen. Thoughts on the Shroud of Turin? I'm not convinced it's authentic. I go back and forth, but I just can't get over that. Oh, okay. Are your Logos books okay for young teens to read? Yeah. Get our Logos study bundle link below. It's absolutely okay for teens to read. Of course. Do it. What are you waiting for? Josephus used women as sources. The idea women's testimony wasn't accepted has been debunked 100 times. Besides, they were not in court of law. So it depends on how they're being used. Josephus tends to use them in parallel with other people or when those are the only witnesses he can go to. We're not saying that testimony of women wasn't fully accepted or never accepted. It's just that they always were skeptical of that. And we see Celsus using that against the Christians. So for the claim of the resurrection, you'd want male witnesses there. If you don't have any, using women is going to hurt your testimony for the resurrection, not completely destroy it. We're not saying that. It's just a cultural thing that was a problem for them. Not for everyone, but it's definitely a cultural problem. Izad Pro, are you there? He says this is the guy that added this to our stage, and I don't know what we're doing with this.
Animals, as we shall see.
What I don't know what this is about.
Yeah, you got to unmute and tell us what you're going to show us here.
His mic not be working, and I don't know what. He's clearly a Christian, according to that, so I'm going to put him back down. But anyway, this is a stream for non-Christians right now. Peter, are you there?
Hi, how are you, Mike?
Good. How are you doing?
Okay. I don't know. I don't think so. I've got a piece of scripture to consider. 2 Timothy 3:16. All scripture is inspired by God and is profitable for doctrine, reproof, correction, and instruction into righteousness. From what I understand, that's Paul's advice to his protege, Timothy, and he's talking about the Old Testament, that if it's from God, it has to be profitable for doctrine, for reproof, correction, and instruction into righteousness. So I just want some advice in applying that principle to Genesis chapter 38, verse 15. If you look at Genesis 38:15, you read scripture, when Judah saw her, he thought she was a prostitute because she had covered her face. He turned to her and said, come, let me have sex with you. She said, what will you give me to have sex with me? He said, I will send you a young goat from the flock. She said, what pledge shall I give it?
Peter, just not to cut you off. We know the story, but I don't want TikTok to...
So let me go to the main question. If you look at the principle of 2 Timothy 3:16 and apply it to the story of Judah and Tamar, they give birth to two children, Phares and Zara, who become the great-grandfathers of Jesus Christ. There are 6 bastards and begetters of bastards in his genealogy. So under the principle of 2 Timothy 3:16, is that the doctrine, reproof, correction, or instruction into righteousness? Where does that fit in? Can someone tell me where would that be, that there are 6 bastards and begetters of bastards in a genealogy of a man who had no genealogy? Where would that fit in?
Let's read the verse. All scripture is breathed out. It's profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, for training in righteousness. Quite simply, a lot of the narratives of the patriarch are there to show you that Romans 3:23 is correct. All have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. We're to learn from this to not follow in their footsteps in their sin. So it's for teaching, clearly. It's teaching us that no one was perfect. That's why we needed Christ to come save us. You can clearly see even in the patriarchs how much they sinned and fell away. That's why we needed the Messiah.
The problem I have with that, sir, is the following. If you look at the fact with Judah and Tamar, God didn't punish Judah for having sex with his daughter-in-law. In fact, his genealogy is immortalized in the book of God because they become the great-grandfathers of Jesus Christ. There are 6 bastards and begetters of bastards in his genealogy. So is that reproof? Is that doctrine? Is that correction? Or is that instruction into righteousness? Now, it's quite clear that the answer doesn't follow through.
A second time doesn't make your argument stronger.
I accept that, sir. I accept that.
Okay,
I don't know, maybe the mic is bad.
Let's not do that then.
I apologize, but what is a moral?
The actual objection to what Mike just said then?
Okay, the objection to that is that reproof means there's some form of punishment. Like, for example, in the story of Judah and Tamar, the father-in-law having sex with the daughter-in-law, no punishment from God, but the children, Phares and Zara, become the great-grandfathers of Jesus Christ. And to top it all...
If God punished everyone all the time, we would all be gone. This is
so
God's
would you
mercy.
be hold
up. This is God's mercy. There's a lot of narratives in the Old Testament that happen where God is not explicitly doling out punishments. So, for example, go to Genesis 9 with Noah getting drunk and cursing his grandson. That was wrong. God doesn't punish him there. Not every time something happens, God shows up and punishes. Abraham tries to leave his wife in Egypt to serve in the harem of Pharaoh. God doesn't punish him, although it's God showing his mercy. This is a thing throughout the Bible.
So there's some stories in the Bible that have morals and some that don't have morals and are immoral. Am I correct then? By your definition. That like father having sex with his daughters night after night, Lot and daughters, or Judah and Tamar having sex
or something. All right, I'm not doing this because he's gonna get us banned on TikTok. I asked him already once to stop doing that. Normally, I just have the conversation, but he keeps saying it, and the TikTok is gonna destroy us. Maybe even Meta. Kappa Frank, are you there?
Hello, how you guys doing?
Good. Are you going to say SEX 1,000 times?
No.
Okay, that's great. You're
promise.
welcome. You're more than welcome here. That was a good. So the topic is Jesus God, and we've not had a chance to talk about it. Do you think Jesus is God?
Are we talking about like Christological claims? Or are we talking about just in general? Like, would that include the case for the resurrection, or would it be?
Well, we would say Jesus, because Jesus rose from the dead, we can trust him when he says that he is God.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of like an agnostic Christian, I would say, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, do you think Jesus claimed to be God?
Yeah. Or I guess it depends what you mean by that. But I'm more had like kind of a different question from that. Just kind of about like the case for the resurrection, if that's
okay. Oh, we've
cool.
covered that. So yeah, what's the issue with the resurrection then?
Kind of. So obviously, the proclamation is with the 12 apostles is very crucial to the resurrection case. That at least multiple of the apostles seen it, but it kind of seems like from church history we just don't have a lot of their testimonies. Like in the book of Acts, we have Peter and we have John, and then I would say through the 1 Corinthians Creed we have James, the brother of Jesus, and then I think Luke 24, there's good evidence that comes from Simon of Cleopas, because Hesychippus talks about how he was bishop in Jerusalem at the time. I grant that the author was a companion of Paul, but the rest of the apostles, we don't really know what they were saying. We don't really have any indication of what they experienced, if that makes sense. Like, we don't know what Philip believed. They kind of just disappear from church history. Their testimony. I don't know what you guys would respond to that kind of objection.
I'm confused on what the argument is.
Yeah.
Like, we only have a few of the people's testimonies, like 3 or 4, and we don't know what the rest of the 12 were actually preaching or what they were saying about their experiences. If that makes sense.
Oh, I mean, it sounds like you're we don't have their direct testimony written down. I don't
like
that...
How can we know? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there. Like, how can we know that the other 8 apostles, let's say, thought something similar or whatever, or 7 or whatever the number is?
Are you presuming? Go ahead, Mike.
No, I would say no. Go ahead, ask your question.
Are you presuming that the Gospels aren't reliable? And all I mean by the word reliable is that they're written by people that were aimed at giving truth. They didn't feel the freedom to make up facts or change facts and stuff like that.
No, I would accept the traditional authorship of Mark and Luke and John. Matthew, I would reject fully. I don't think it has anything to do with the Apostle Matthew. That's the only one I would probably disagree with you guys on. I don't know.
All right, I'm not even talking about the authors, who they are in themselves. I'm just talking about the psychological profile of the authors. They're not feeling the freedom to make up facts.
I think they would shape facts with theological agendas, but I don't think necessarily.
Well, there's a difference between shaping facts around a theological agenda and making up facts.
No, I don't think they were purposely making anything up. No.
Okay. So we have little to no reason for thinking that the testimonies that are recorded within the New Testament are just made up propaganda or anything like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then from there, we're gonna have close to, depending on how you want to count things, about 21 unique eyewitness testimonies that are recorded within the Gospels and Acts.
But where I would disagree is there would be 21, because there's 21 different resurrection appearances that are narrated throughout the Gospels, Acts, and Paul. Is that what you're saying with the 21 testimonies?
No, 21 unique individuals.
But
whose experiences and testimonies are recorded.
Let's say for the Gospel of John, there's 4 resurrection appearances in there or something like that, or maybe more. I'm sorry if I don't know it off the top of my head.
I remember each one off the top of my head, but
yeah. So let's just say 4, but those come through the eyes of John, not separate individuals. So how?
So okay, so what?
But you were saying we have 21 separate testimonies, but is that fair to say that those are separate testimonies? Wouldn't it be one testimony is for the 4? Like that's just John's own testimony.
There's John recording, right? So if we're going to talk about John is doing biography, and in this biography, he has X person. This is their testimony. This is what they say about their experience with the resurrected Christ, right?
So, for example, the one at Thomas, you're saying, oh, this is what John knows from Thomas, for example. That would be kind of where you would position.
Yeah, so
like
so Thomas said, I'm John, and Thomas tells me this is what happened.
Yeah.
And I'm recording what Thomas said.
Or however the story was transmitted. I see what you're saying. Okay,
Yeah.
that's an interest. That it's funny. I haven't thought about it that way. That does make it different. The way I was thinking about it, I didn't really I kind of was just thinking, oh, that's John's testimony from his experience being there, but we don't even know if John was there in John 20. I mean, we know in John 21 the beloved disciple is there, so clearly he would have had gotten that story from somewhere else that would have began with someone there, I guess you could say.
Yeah, and so do we? And if we have no reason for thinking John's making this stuff up, right? We have the women at the tomb, Mary Magdalene. Like we have this is the order of the appearance. I just pulled up some slides.
Yeah.
We have the women at the tomb, Mary Magdalene, Simon Peter, Cleopas, and another disciple. In John 20, verses 19 through 23, we have 10 disciples and others. Then John 20, 26 to 28, Luke, Mark, 11 disciples plus Thomas. In John 21, 7 disciples while fishing. Matthew 28, the apostles on the mountain in Galilee. You have 1 Corinthians 15, James the skeptic. Luke 24, you have the apostles on the Mount of Olives. 1 Corinthians, Acts, stuff like that. You have Saul, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of these people are multiple different occasions testifying to experiencing the risen Christ in some way, shape, or form, right? A lot of times tells us when it happened, and it tells us the details, right? And the sensory modes that it happens in. That doesn't sound like we don't have access to who was saying what at the time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would probably just filter it like we don't know that all 12 were saying at the time, but there was probably multiple. Like we know at this experience of the 7, John was there and he reported that the other 6 saw that. It would be kind of what you would be saying to that.
Right. So then the question is, okay, well, we have reason to believe that John is reliably transmitting with the testimony of the people that allegedly testified to seeing the risen Christ. And now you can ask the question, well, what are the odds that you have all these testimonies that look almost exactly the same in some way, shape, or form, the same person, same figure across a span of 40 days? They're all seeing the same person. They're experiencing different things. There's levels of independence between the testimonies, all that stuff. It's in an anticipated hostile environment. They know the cost of saying what they're about to say, and they endure the cost of what they're about to say. They include embarrassing testimony while they do it. You get the point. Like, what are the odds of that structure of data if Jesus rose from the dead versus if a bunch versus whatever skeptical hypothesis you want to put?
Yeah. No, I think that's a satisfying answer to the question I had. And can I ask one more additional question? How would you
one more, and then we got to move on.
Oh, yeah, sorry. And I know you guys wanted to more focus, it seems like, on like Christological claims too. Sorry, I kind of misread the title with it. How would you respond to someone that compares like the 1 Corinthians 15 creed to like a hearsay? Like in the court of law, if that were to be brought up, that's hearsay. And I know that's kind of unfair standards because
they don't understand the court of law.
Okay.
There is a federal code that actually permits hearsay, and it tells you the conditions under which hearsay is allowed and all this other stuff. But furthermore, you're not going to judge theories based off of the epistemology of juries. There's like the reason why juries have in court cases have the way that they're set up is actually to protect people because people are notoriously bad at reasoning. So it's basically like, hey, here's our standard. And because we know people suck at reasoning, we're going to put the standard really, 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 really crazy high in this particular way to protect everybody from bad reasoning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But if we're not in a court case and we're in, a circumstance where we're free to reason and we can judge each other and judge each other's reasons properly and all that stuff, we're not bound by the court case rules. If we were bound by court case rules when it comes to any sort of scientific inquiry or anything like that, well, we're screwed. We can't believe in anything.
especially under historical standards. Because
Exactly.
I guess you could say most of it. Okay. Well, thank you guys for your guys' answers. I'd say those are pretty satisfying explanations.
For sure.
Have a nice
Thanks,
rest
man.
of your
For
stream.
Later, brother.
To the cowards in the chat, come up and debate. Yeah, if you're in the chat running your mouth, come up and debate. You're absolutely coward. We've got room. We got room in the queue. I don't know what you're doing. Nor, are you there? Gotta unmute yourself if you're there. Noor, Nor. All right, I'm gonna move on then. Nor going once, going twice. All right. Jabber, are you there? Gotta unmute yourself if you're there, man. Jabber. He's running. Look at how he took off like that. Try Nor again. Nor, are you there? Try Nor again. Nor,
Hello?
Yep. Are you there?
Yes?
Are you a Christian?
No.
Okay. Do you think Jesus is God?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
But I wanted to ask you, because this concept of Trinity is always a bit confusing to me. If you could quickly, why do you believe Jesus is God?
Because he said he was God.
From the Bible.
Yes.
But there isn't like a big debate about the reliability of these Bibles that you trust so much.
That doesn't change
So
the fact
is there,
that in
is
the
there like a
Bible,
little
Jesus claimed
chance
to
in
be
your
God.
head, in your brain, that he could not be God? So you're
Is there
100% sure
what?
that he is God. Like a little doubt in your head that he could not have been God.
Sure. I'm 99% certain Jesus is God. There's a 1% chance he's not.
But based on what? Just on the statement that he says, I am, or something like that, right? Was it?
No,
Which is
he
not even
claims to be
clear, because it
God
doesn't
in
even
multiple
state, I am
places.
God, come to earth to die for your sins. He never stated that. So I really don't understand how this concept came out.
And he never said, I'm not God either. So that doesn't change anything. But he clearly taught that he is God.
He claimed to be a servant of God, to be a prophet, and to come to give revelation.
Did he ever say, I'm just a servant, I'm not God?
Yeah, my Lord, your Lord, my Father, your Father. Like he's never saying, I am
Did
God.
he ever say, I'm just a servant?
Yes, I am a servant.
Chapter and verse. Where did he say, I'm just a servant?
But do you understand that this cannot be meaning that he was meaning I'm God? Like he doesn't say this word himself. How do you come up with this?
I'll show you. Let me show you. I can show you a place where Jesus clearly. Okay, sure. Let's go to here. Matthew 7:21-22. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Notice what Jesus calls himself.
The will of my Father. Like does
Hold
he
on.
say,
What
my will?
does Jesus call himself Lord, Lord?
Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of whoever says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Huh?
Does Jesus just on the surface before we move on? Do you agree Jesus is calling himself Lord, Lord?
No, this statement is very ambiguous. Lord, Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the evil, no, that's the will of my Father who is in heaven. He says that only who does the will of the Father, not my will.
Okay,
On the day
I'm not
will say to me,
disputing
Lord,
that. Does Jesus not say that people will call him Lord, Lord, and he's accepting that?
Where does he say so? Sorry, I don't see it. Does he say people are calling me Lord, Lord? Doesn't people saying Lord, Lord will enter the kingdom of heaven? And then he said, actually continues to say, on that day, many will say up. If you can go back, I was reading from yours.
There's two places we can go to. Luke 6:46 as well. Jesus is clearly saying that he is Lord, Lord. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, went to the kingdom of heaven, but the one who does the will of my Father who's in heaven. In other words, you have to call him Lord, Lord, but also do the will of my Father who's in heaven.
Yeah.
Okay. That's all. We're just establishing. You can also see this in Luke 6:46. Why do you call me Lord, Lord, and not do what I tell you? In other words, you're calling me Lord, Lord. I accept that, but you're not doing what I tell you. So Jesus is using the title Lord, Lord, is he not?
Oh my gosh, here's even going against you, saying, "Why do you call me Lord, Lord? Did I tell you not to call me Lord?"
Are you
But
kidding
do,
me?
do you understand what this means? He says,
Nor,
"Why do you call
Nor.
me
Hold on,
Lord,
hold on,
Lord,
hold on,
and do
hold on,
not
hold on,
what I
hold on.
tell you? Why are you calling me Lord, Lord, and you're not
Nor.
doing what I'm
This is so
telling you
Nor.
to
stupid.
only
Lock in,
worship the
lock in,
Father?" This
lock
is what
in,
this
lock
phrase
in, Nor.
literally means. I don't know
Nor.
how you misunderstand this.
Lock in. Okay, we're gonna get on
Because
the same area code right now. Okay.
I don't see, and
Hold
there's
on.
no
Hey,
one
can
verse
you
in
hear
the
me?
Bible that he clearly that he's God.
Mike, can
I
you hear
really
me?
don't understand how you guys really believe
We
in
can
this.
hear you. Nora's
This
just
is
not
very,
listening.
but
Can
I'm
Nor
reading
hear me?
from what you just read.
Nora, can
Wow.
you hear Than?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay,
cool.
listen to him.
I have a title.
Ah, no,
It's
sorry, I
called.
cannot hear 10.
Oh, you can't? Okay. So
Let
it's
me
probably
just
an audio
leave and
issue.
come back.
Wait.
Nora, if I were to say,
Oh,
why
okay,
to my kids, why do
yeah.
you call me dad and not do what I tell you? Did I deny being dad, or did I accept that as the title for myself?
But why?
Nora, this is basic semantics. This is basic English here. Jesus is clearly accepting the title Lord, Lord, as it's translated. And in the Greek, yes, that's the same thing. The same principles apply.
Did you make the
Yeah,
argument I
don't
was
see
going to
what
make?
you see, but okay, whatever. If you think that he's saying I'm God, but why wouldn't Jesus just say, "Hey, I'm God. I'm here for you
He's
guys"? I
literally
can get
doing that. The title Lord, Lord is only ever applied to Yahweh.
But wasn't Jesus sent with the gospel, right?
Yes.
That he was preaching.
Do you
in
not
Aramaic.
understand what the Trinity is? Do you not understand how that doctrine works? Because we agree the Father sent the Son. That doesn't change the fact that they are both ontologically
The
God.
Trinity thing does not make sense. I don't know how you guys believe in that. It cannot make sense.
You don't even understand our position, though. You keep saying, well, the Father sent Jesus with the gospel. We agree as Trinitarians. So how do you know the Trinity is false if you don't even understand it?
Because nobody can ever explain it, and each Christian has a different explanation for it because nobody really understood it. It's something that really, I don't know, it's brainwashing to people.
It's very simple.
That does not make sense.
It's very simple. There is one God. God is three persons. Each person is truly God.
So three gods.
My goodness. There is what was the first thing I said? Can you repeat it back to me?
Yeah, but if you say three gods and you have three persons, that
what was the first thing I said?
There is one God, right? One God.
All right. So yeah. So we obviously
entities.
didn't say three gods.
Yeah.
Okay. There is one God. God
Yeah.
is three persons. Each person is truly God.
Okay. So one God, but three persons. So
Yes,
one
you
God
got
comes, but three persons. One is the Holy Spirit, right? Is it a person?
Right.
What is the Holy Spirit?
The third
Is that,
person.
isn't that the angel Gabriel who comes?
Are you a Muslim?
From my background, I mean, I originally, yeah, but
there is no Bible verse that says the Holy Spirit is Gabriel. That's Muslims reinterpreting our text to fit him in there. The Holy Spirit is the third person of God.
But okay, but so what does the Holy Spirit, like, what does it mean, third person of God? Is a spirit. What is a spirit? The soul of God?
Father is also spirit, so what?
The Holy Spirit's the title.
Father is a spirit?
Yeah.
Okay, so God, the Father is a spirit.
He's not a giant guy sitting on a throne with two right hands and a magical shin that he's going to show on Judgment Day. That's for sure.
No, that's not what you're going to see on Judgment Day for sure. But that's not how we portray him either way. But I'm just trying to say.
That's what the Hadith say, that on Judgment Day. That's what they say in the Hadith. You know what I'm right? You know I'm right. In the Hadith, it says that you're going to identify Allah by he's going to lift up his skirt and show his shin because he's a physical being.
No, there's no Hadith that says that.
Oh, Than, we have been challenged on the Hadith of the shin.
What?
There is definitely Hadith that says that.
But let's say on this Holy Spirit.
While Mike's pulling that up, are you Nor?
So it's the Spirit of the Father.
Be forthcoming. Just be forthcoming. Are you a Muslim? Can she not?
Nora, this is Sahih al-Bukhari 7439. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find it's a longer one. Here it is. Okay, so here it is right here. They will say the shin. So Allah will uncover his shin, whereupon every believer will prostrate before him, and there will remain those who used to prostrate before him just for showing off and for gaining good reputation. This is Sahih al-Bukhari. The way they're going to identify Allah is because he's going to show his shin.
Sorry, like my English is not. What is shin actually?
The shin is the lower part of the leg.
This thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
It's the lower part of the leg. Yes.
No, but I don't think that's what the hadith is saying. But
That's what it's saying.
what just reveal himself.
Allah is a physical being with two right
clear
hands and a
description.
shin.
There is a clear description of God that that we cannot even envision it. It's above our understanding.
But he's got a shin, right?
Does not have a human form.
I didn't say that. He's got a shin, though, right?
The shin.
Yeah, the shin.
This is, I think, this translation, I don't think is correct.
You don't think this is right?
No.
Okay. What about?
You should just show her Ibn Taymiyyah.
Yeah, there's another. Yeah. I can show you that Allah has two right hands. Do you want to look at that?
Yes, he has hands. Yes, I mean hands, but they're not like human hands. They just have.
But
hands,
he's got hands, right? So he's a physical being of some sort.
He has attributes of a human, but it's not like us.
Right. Look at this hadith. Sunan an-Nasai 5379. Both of his hands are right hands. So you think the Trinity is confusing, but you believe in a God that has a shin, two right hands, but you can't picture it. It's not a human form, but he's got human parts, but he's also not. It's beyond comprehension. Do you see the hypocrisy here, Nora? On one side, you're saying the Trinity is confusing, but look at what the stuff we can show you, and you're just going, well, you know.
So my question was about the Trinity.
Yes, and you said the Trinity was confusing. So I'm showing you that in Islam, it's far more confusing. So why are you upset that God, who's far beyond our comprehension, is not exactly like you?
Not use Islam to prove something like it. There's no connection. Why do you bring this up?
Because you said the Trinity is confusing and God can't. That's an argument against the Trinity being true. But here I'm bringing up passages in your own hadith that show your God is confusing, beyond comprehension. You can't picture it. He's not a human form, but he's got some type of form. He's got two right hands and a shin, and you're just like, well, he's beyond our comprehension. Do you see the double standard now?
But because whenever the description of God in the Quran is always a manner befitting only His Majesty. It's not like an actual human form.
So how does he have two right hands and a shin, and he doesn't have a human form?
His Majesty, but we don't know how the shin looks like.
Okay, then what's your problem with the Trinity? You're just saying that it's confusing and we can't understand
it. No, but the
Trinity
is not even in the Bibles. That's the thing. Is
Are you sure?
Look,
that,
I feel like we're just playing Mario Kart right now. Like you're throwing a banana over here and you're throwing a shell over here, and you're like, "Oh, here's my blue shell," and like nothing's actually hitting me right now. So can we just focus on one thing?
I mean, there's nothing funny. Like,
it's very funny.
Okay, is God one?
I find that offensive. I think I am pretty funny.
Entity, each one is 100%. I don't know how did they come up with this?
By reading what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches there's one God. There are three persons that are called God, and each of them is truly God.
But the Bible, see, okay, so the gospel wasn't the gospel only given to Jesus. Peace be upon him.
The message that he preached.
That's the
gospel message.
Yeah. It was one book, like usually God only gives one.
No, there was no book that was given to him. This is just the message he came with to preach. It wasn't like something he got handed out of heaven.
No, God, yes, because God. This is how God did it. It's either like I think to Moses he was giving tablets, but for Jesus I don't know. He gave it. It's mentioned they gave him a gospel somehow. It's even revealed to him.
Was Muhammad given a book?
No. But let's not compare.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can. Jesus preached the gospel message.
Walking around preaching the gospel. And then the Bible that you have here are, I don't know how many books. So all these books were written by who? Sorry? But because I only read like M source, Q source. So these books are not even we don't know. They're just
irrelevant to the point that you were trying to make.
Yeah, but if you don't have if you don't have the original teaching of Jesus, you cannot come up with a theology like a Trinity.
We do have the original teachings of Jesus. They're in our four Gospels.
Written by who?
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John.
Which were they met Jesus, the apostles, or his friends, or
Matthew was a follower of Jesus, so was John. Mark followed Peter, and Luke followed Paul, and met with many of the eyewitnesses while he was in Jerusalem.
yeah. But if you read these Bibles, it's not like God speaking. It looks like it's sort of a biography.
Have you read these?
Or like, it's more yeah. To me, it seems like more the hadiths that we have. It's more like this what you have.
Okay,
in the
doesn't
Bible,
make
but
them
So you
false
want
when
the you want the
just like
actual
what Jesus
you want
was
the
doing,
actual
he was
speech of
doing that,
Allah.
he was
Is that's
doing
what you're saying?
demonstrating, praying.
Nor.
And then there's some stuff also that doesn't make sense, but
I still don't know if she can hear me, Mike.
Can you hear Than? Can you hear the other guy talking?
I cannot hear.
Okay, you
Wait,
can't hear him.
I left and came back and it's
audio.
not working, man.
Nora,
Okay.
just because you think they're more like hadith, that doesn't change anything. That doesn't make them false. Okay, you actually have to show the problem here. You're just throwing out random things because you can't actually deal with the topic. In the Gospels, Jesus claims to be God. When he calls himself Lord, Lord, he's clearly identifying himself as Yahweh. The Father's identified as Yahweh. Jesus identifies the Holy Spirit as coming from the Father and of the same essence. And then in the book of Acts, Peter says the Holy Spirit is God. So there is one God. God is three persons, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, and each person is truly God. That's where the Trinity comes from.
Is God. So there is one God. God is three persons. Father, Son, and Holy
All right, this I can't. I hate that echo, man.
Bummer that
Holy
she can't hear me.
Yeah, it's just not doing this stuff in circles. Super chats. If we found out the brain was indeed the source of consciousness, would that undermine the Christian concept of the soul?
No.
No.
It depends on what you mean by source.
Yeah, and soul's not a rigid designator. It means different things. So it doesn't work. My goats, thank you for both of your work in this space. Thank you so much. I want to be baptized. Good. So bad as well as find a church to attend. I'm just afraid and have a hard time trusting people. Any suggestions? Visit churches, man. You gotta get over that fear. You gotta put your fears aside. You gotta get over that. You gotta attend churches, man. You can do it.
This is related to another project I'm considering taking on, Mike, by the way. I'll tell you later.
Okay. The weird profile pic. Things like the ancestors of Jesus also show us that God can redeem evil and make good out of it. Most callers you can barely hear, but he is so loud. But he
also, the rest of Genesis 38 actually calls out the hypocrisy of the early verses.
Yeah.
But
Than, as a lawyer, thank you for explaining the hearsay rules relationship and exceptions that exist under the federal rules of evidence. You heard it here, folks. Than is correct. A lawyer has confirmed it.
I'm basically a lawyer now, you guys. So
Basically a
if
lawyer.
you get in trouble, hire me.
I'm trying to read what that thing says, and I can't. It's too small. Yeah, I know. No idea. Anyway.
No idea.
Kanaush Alavi, is that you?
Yes, sir. Do y'all hear me?
Yes. Are you Christian or what are you?
So I'm going through my journey, and I just have a few questions that I would like to ask you guys, if that's okay.
What are you? Are you like agnostic then? Like we want to know where you're coming from.
Okay, I gotta admit that I am Christian, but I do have some questions that I would like to ask you guys, if that's okay.
Go ahead and ask us a question. We got a ton of guests though, so we'll take one of your questions and then we got to move on.
Got you. Okay, if you guys have other guests, I think the big one is, what evidence convinced you guys personally that like Jesus was God? Like what? Like is there a specific verse, specific anything really?
I'll be real quick and then Than, you can jump in. There's a ton of evidence Jesus rose from the dead, so that it's clear he rose from the dead. That gives us good reason to trust what he taught and said, and he clearly taught that he's God. So that's how I reason to that.
My short answer is that I care about total evidence. So it's literally all the things that I look at when I look at all of the evidence. That's the thing that puts me towards the direction that Jesus is God. Your echo is killing me. Sorry, man.
Yeah, we're getting a feedback loop from your mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard to
Okay,
hear
that
myself
makes
think.
sense.
Sorry.
I
but
mean,
yeah.
honestly, where I'm at my journey, I'm really just looking at different churches. I'm really debating between like this isn't the debate like to join. I'm a really big fan. Like I can't lie.
Thank
I love Mike Jones.
Thank you.
But yeah, I'm really just looking at different churches. And yeah, really right now the viewpoint is like for me Catholic Orthodox. Like I'm trying to look in that. Obviously, the relationship with Jesus, that's number one priority. I don't know.
Check out Catholic, Orthodox, Anglican, Lutheran churches. I think you'll find them all pretty similar. That's what I'd tell you.
You know Josiah Trenham?
No, I do not. No.
Oh, okay. Big Orthodox guy. Very famous apparently. He lives very close to me. His parish is close.
Yeah.
So
check it out.
But yeah,
thanks for coming, man. We got a bunch of guests though, but we appreciate it.
Love you, brother. All good.
All right, we'll bring in Captain Skeletor Man here. I'm kind of concerned with the way he's staring at us
this
right now.
backdrop is sick.
Peace be with you, Mike, and peace be with you. I like this special needs Thean. That makes me
I like
laugh.
you too, man.
Thank you.
What's
Thank
going
you.
on? So are you a Christian or no?
No. I don't believe Jesus is God.
Okay.
I want to ask Thean a question. Are you truly a lawyer, or is that just something you say?
It was just a joke. It was a joke.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to ask you if you said yes. I was going to say, do you accept forensic evidence? If I were to present forensic evidence that Jesus is not God, would you accept that? But if you're not a lawyer, then you must not know what I'm talking about. But no, I don't. And Mike, it's a Skeleton Man. I have my own channel that I wish Muslims would come to, Captain Skeleton Man channel, and I can teach them a lot of stuff. But so no, I don't believe Jesus is God. It's I hope you as Christians understand that there's a distinction between the Son of God and the Son of Man. And you can clearly find this in Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6. And you can also find this in John 3:16. And that will give you an identifying understanding of the difference between spirit gives birth to spirit, flesh gives birth to flesh. So you have the Father, which only beget one thing. And then through this one thing, all other things are in existence.
Where in John 3:16 does it say the Son of Man and the Son of God are not the same?
In John 3:16, it states that God so loved the world that he will give his only begotten Son. So then let's go to Isaiah. Now keep that in mind. Go to Isaiah chapter 9, verse 6, and you will see that unto us a child, that's the flesh, that where you will hear Lord, Lord.
Yep.
So that's the
Unto us
flesh
a
that
child
is
born, to
born.
us a son is given, and the government should be upon his shoulder.
And
his
wait,
name
slow down
shall
a
be
minute.
called
Slow down, Mike. Mike, slow down a bit. So a son is given or born, that's flesh, and a son is given. And you can find the Quran verse where it says a word from Allah and a spirit from Allah are given to Maryam. And here that clearly corroborates that. And John 3:16 identifies son as a spirit, and the child here is identified as the flesh. So
Where does
even
John
Jesus,
say
even
this is-
Jesus says, "I
You're-
am the Son of Man."
Captain, you're saying things that are just these verses are not saying. John 3:16 says, "For the God so loved the world that he gave his only son, monogenes." So it doesn't say begotten; it's monogenes, which means like unique.
Oh, so you don't believe
And
that
whoever-
God only has a begotten son?
I believe God, the Son, is eternally begotten, but that's not what this verse is saying.
Is it his only begotten?
Yes.
Okay, so semantics around that. You're making semantics around it. So it's clearly
I'm
defined
asking you
that
to
only
show me
God
what
has
the verse
only one
says.
begotten son.
Hold up.
And you
I'm asking
believe that
to show me
through
what the
this,
verse
all
says.
things are
Okay.
made.
Dude,
What
if
is
you're
it
gonna
now?
keep interrupting me, if you're gonna
You keep interrupting me.
Okay, bye. Not playing these games, man. He's not even making sense. I have so many confused issues here. And so I can't even ask him a question to clarify his own position. And he's talking. It's like, dude, we're not playing these games. Let's bring up Brad. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Are you a Christian? Sorry, that was a weird caller for you. Okay. But are you a Christian?
No, I'm considering myself like agnostic, like atheist. I was raised Christian.
Okay. So why are you not a Christian?
I think for me, I kind of started finding out some of the basic things about the Bible that just was never taught to me in church before, like the Gospels being written decades later, and the fact that we don't actually know who the original authors were. So I think
Why would you
little
think that?
things, just based on just some of the scholars that I've just heard from just on other channels.
I think the gospel, both of us think the gospel authors are Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. We think there's plenty of evidence to support that.
Yeah, no, I guess when I look at the more scholarly consensus, that's not like 100% like what they all think.
Well, I mean, like you shouldn't just, you're not a sheep, you're a human. You should study their arguments and go with the one that is going to make the most sense. I think that's the reasonable thing to do. Not be like, well, they told me this and they do all the research. Like study their research is what I'm saying. You don't just, oh, no, they said it, therefore it must be the case.
Yeah, no, I get that. And I think there's little things that add up. Like sometimes you talk about like building a cumulative case. I think for me, like, I think looking at some of the comparative mythology also kind of made the Bible seem a lot less divinely inspired if it's clearly, maybe not direct copying, but clearly borrowing from other myths from from Greek. There's like Dionysus, the fact that he turned water into wine and has a resurrection story.
There is no story of him turning water into wine that predates Jesus. It comes from a 2nd century source.
I'll also just put this little tidbit into, if you study any anthropology or cognitive science or anything like that, humans just kind of have a predisposition for some of the tropes that a lot of these mythicists and like scholars that you're probably appealing to. Humans just kind of have a natural disposition for some of these tropes. So that's going to be the easier explanation than the Christians borrowed from these for any of the parallels that you're going to think are borrowed.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's some examples where it's clearly in the Bible, it's literature compared to actual like history, like the Road to Emmaus in Luke. That has a lot of parallels to a lot of other Greek stories, like in the Odyssey, when like Athena is also like a god like under disguise. Like, so basically, when I start
disguise in the Road to Emmaus,
well, it'd be Jesus.
Where do you see the idea that Jesus is a god under disguise?
Well, I know that like the Gospels like didn't recognize him at first or whatever.
Yeah, this just sounds like parallelomania. I mean, there's parallels between a lot of things. Let me give you an example. I'm going to tell you about a story. It's about this unsinkable ship that hit an iceberg. It was a British ship. It was about 800 feet long, had about 2,500 passengers. Hit an iceberg going about 25 knots on the starboard side, about 40 nautical miles from Newfoundland. The ship had an insufficient number of lifeboats, which meant a lot of people had to die. Now, what am I describing?
Well, the most likely story would be the Titanic, I'm guessing.
I'm not. I'm describing a book written in 1898 called The Wreck of the Titan. In fact, when he wrote this book and the sinking of the Titanic happened 14 years later, he was accused of being a clairvoyant because his story was so similar to the sinking of the Titanic. My main point is similarities do not prove that someone borrowed something. That's just parallelomania.
Yeah, no, I get that. But I think when those parallels, like when some of them predate like the stories in the Bible, I think that's where I have the main issues, is that if it's just clearly less like clearly the word of God. If it's, for instance, that trope of a God under disguise, like that predates Jesus in the Gospels, and the fact that it's in the Bible.
Well, here's what you're kind of saying. Jesus was disguised. Another God in the story was disguised. Jesus can't do that because he would be borrowing the trope. That's not how that works. Like, that's just a similarity. Like, where you're jumping the gun. There's a huge non sequitur in here that this is where they're getting it from. And even if, like, were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, there's also a really, really bad baked in assumption that however God's going to reveal himself, whatever scripture is going to inspire, and however he's going to reveal himself, he's not going to make it look like anything else that is around at all. And that would just be like, that's fine if you really want to say that, but then what you're doing is just saying, well, that there's a very specific way that God can reveal himself, and it can't look like anything else other that humans would recognize at all. Like, you're making a philosophical assumption in this argument as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess I don't understand the philosophical part. I guess it's just more like an observation that there's like,
well, you're making an inference, right? That,
sure, yes.
Hey, here's these patterns over here.
Mm-hmm.
I can see these tropes and patterns in the Gospels. Somehow that's evidence against the divine origin of the Gospels. Because an assumption in the back of your head is God wouldn't do that. That's the only way you can motivate that inference. That's the only way.
I think that's kind of an accurate way of kind of how I feel about it.
Right. So why should we think that God would actively avoid any of those patterns in the way he reveals himself?
I mean, I think God would just want to have something be more clear that it's from him rather than having it get mixed up with some other story.
Well, Brad, let me give you an analogy here. Let's say you and I weren't humans. We were space aliens, and we wanted to convince, and we showed up, I don't know, 2,000, 3,000, let's say 3,000 years ago. And we wanted to convince those humans down in Egypt we were gods. Aren't we going to do it in ways that they would expect their gods to act like? Let's say I was deciding, I really want them to worship me, and they have this god called Amun-Ra. Well, I'm going to I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm going to show up with all this power of light and majesty to convince them. That way they know I'm a god, and they'll associate that with Amun-Ra. Same with, let's say we went to ancient Greece. Okay, who's the head god there? Zeus. Well, I know what to do. I'll use our spacecraft to shoot down lightning. They're going to think I'm Zeus now. So, if Jesus wanted to come into this world, he's going to do things that is going to convince the people of the day that he truly is a divinity. So let's say there was a story that predated Jesus of Dionysus turning water into wine. It'd be a really good way for him to show that he truly is divine, because he's doing what you can only hear about in the legends.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I feel like you could show yourself divine in a lot of other ways. You don't have to use the exact thing that predated you, like the whatever turning water into wine, or if it's a resurrection story, for example, is not unique to Jesus.
Give me another resurrection story, because I've studied those a lot. Who resurrected before Jesus did? And
Dionysus is one. There's
tell me the story.
There's a difference between apotheosis and resurrection.
Yeah, apotheosis. It's different.
No, sure. Maybe they're not exactly the same, but there's enough similarity there that.
Then do you not see how this is an unfalsifiable hypothesis? Every single time a counterexample comes up, we're going to patch it by going, well, it's not exactly the same, and we're going to add another principle, and we're going to keep doing this and keep doing this and keep doing this, right? How can we falsify the theory?
Of what? Things being inspired from other cultures?
Because your hypothesis is these are not historical documents, they're not divinely inspired, and you're making a positive case, you're making a positive claim that whoever wrote these, they're following the literary genre and they're inspired by the literary patterns and genres of these typical tropes, right? How can we falsify that hypothesis?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you falsify it exactly, but I think
what would be counted as evidence against it?
I think if the Gospels were taken to be more proven as historical, compared to having all these more just tropes, and I think.
Can we give you something then?
I mean, sure.
Give you evidence for the historical reliability of the Gospels?
Yeah, sure.
All right. Than knows where I'm going, right, Than?
Oh, yeah.
The year is 2024, and a paper is published called Why Name Popularity is a Good Test of Historicity. By the way, this is
Really? Oh, go ahead. You're probably going to say what I was going to say.
Yeah, this is not the end of the story. Than is working with these two authors right now to make an even more in-depth paper. So this is
it's actually turned into a full book. There's a peer-reviewed book coming out probably next year.
Yeah. Now here's the point of the general thing of what this paper is saying. There needs to be something that we could use to find out if something is fiction or if it's based on historical reports. And one of the ways you would do is names. So let me ask you, Brad. Let's say you didn't have the internet or modern libraries. Could you write me a novel about some guy living in, I don't know, Georgia from the 1960s and get the right ratio of names? So you have to get the most popular names. You know, like maybe the most popular name in Georgia is like Daniel. So most of the characters in the stories surrounding this individual should be named Daniel. But you're going to have very few people named like Seymour. So there should be limited names. So you want to get the right distribution of naming patterns. Now that would come out naturally if you actually interviewed witnesses and you went to from people in Georgia in the 1960s about this guy. You get the right ratio of naming patterns most likely. But to make a fictional work without modern libraries or internet would be a lot hard. Are you tracking thus far?
Yeah, no, sure. You could use like an encyclopedia or something like to whatever.
It'd be hard.
Try to piece together. Yeah, it's not. Yeah, you don't have exact information.
Right. So we have a database of all the names in the first century Judea. And so we have like a distribution of names here. Like Simon is the most popular name, as you can see, followed by Joseph, Eliezer, Judah, Johanan, Hananiah, Joshua. So we have this distribution of naming patterns. So to test if the Gospels are fiction or not, they should have a very similar naming distribution. They should have Simon a lot. They should have rare names, like once or twice, but they put them all into a giant category here of rare names. So you get the idea there. So they ran this test, and here's what they did. Let me go down here to show you kind of what's going on. Where is it? Here we go. So they did a goodness of fit test. So they looked at the Gospel and Acts, Josephus, novels. They also looked at apocrypha texts and a random distribution of names. So they're trying to find if the names in Josephus, for example, match the pattern of names of the first century. They looked at modern novels. So they looked at two novels, Ben-Hur and a novel called The Spear. These were written in modern times by people that use modern libraries to try to make their novels as realistic as possible. So to get the most realistic things. And so they ran all these tests to see what the naming distribution would be. Josephus, I'll tell you what they got. It was fit. It got 6%. What that means, if you were to go through Jerusalem in the first century and ask 100 people their names, there's a 6% chance you get the same naming distribution you find in Josephus. What do you think the Gospels and Acts got?
I don't know, like 50% or something?
Oh, much better than that. 86%. So they were even far more reliable than Josephus. Modern novels, the random distribution, apocryphal texts, they got 0%. So if the Gospels were fiction, we would expect them to have a naming distribution like what we see in these other three categories here. But they were even far better than Josephus, which we would expect. Josephus deals with a lot of aristocrats. The Gospels and Acts deals with more common folk of the time. So they have the most accurate naming ratio in the sample. And again, Than is coming out with more research on this with these two authors. But nevertheless, this is something you could not fabricate. This is something that you would get if you were actually interviewing eyewitnesses and getting actual stories about who Jesus was.
I'll just say this really quick. If you think this is cool, Brad, the data is actually way stronger in the upcoming work that's going to be published.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's interesting. I think, while it's interesting, it's something I definitely want to look more into. I guess I'm not sure how you make the leap from, okay, there's this really accurate naming convention, therefore, when the Bible makes a claim about a resurrection, it's true.
That's not the leap.
Okay, well, okay, sure. Then maybe can you elaborate then? I'm just not.
Yeah, there's two stages to this. And I think the conflation is apparent in just the way that you even tested or talked about your hypothesis versus the Christian hypothesis, right? Because you're saying hey, they're borrowing from these pagan stuff versus it's the divinely inspired word of God, right? We don't have to do that. We can just go, hey, here's one hypothesis. The gospel authors are people that were close in times to the times. They're close to the times and the places of the events that they report on, right? And they didn't feel the freedom to make up or change facts for any of their purposes, and they were highly successful in doing so. That's the hypothesis that I would, that's the model of the Gospels that I would put up. Your model proposes people that were making a bunch of stuff up that are distant from these places, alleged events or anything like that, or these events aren't there, whatever. I don't know what your theory of who the gospel authors is, but minimally speaking, it's not consistent with the idea that these are real people reporting on real events that they're close to geographically and chronologically. And now here's the thing. The name distribution is much more expected on the hypothesis that I gave you versus the hypothesis that there's people that are distant geographically and chronologically from the ancient Palestine and are making things up. We know what it looks like when people make stuff up. Improper name distributions. We know what it looks like when people are not making things up and being historical. Proper name distributions.
Yeah, I think where that gets muddy is when you have things like verisimilitude, where authors try to insert historically accurate things. And well, one, obviously with the Gospels being written decades after the events and them not being eyewitnesses, I think that's one thing. But also, like, how do you distinguish between, I guess, like verisimilitude versus like, no, this is actually recorded history, especially when the Gospels are written decades later.
This data point is the point, right?
Yeah.
This is evidence that discriminates between anonymous authors that have nothing to do with whatever they're reporting on and people that are close to the facts that they're purporting to report on. How do you get people that, according to you, have nothing to do with the events they're purporting to report on? And how do you get people that are geographically and chronologically distant from these events getting an accurate name distribution?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly how they source in their information. But I think if a writer has enough information about the area, like it's not like impossible to insert like.
Then why did the Apocrypha Gospels get it? Why didn't the modern novels get it? I mean, they used these controls to see, okay, well, if this is accurate, we would expect. So, you could falsify it. If modern novels got onomastic congruence, okay, then this throw this out.
Yeah, I guess to maybe use like a more like maybe like our modern example, like if you talked about writing a story in like the 1960s or whatever, and you got the exact like naming pattern right. Like I don't think the exact naming pattern is going to prove that this story exactly happened. But
that's not what we're saying. That's not what we're saying. You're conflating the two things again. There's a difference between my hypothesis, right, that the gospel authors are truthful people that were on the ground floor, and they're reporting on the events that they actually witnessed and or collected information on, right? And then those reports being true. That's two different things that you're investigating. Right now, all we're doing is showing you evidence that shows the Gospels are reliable. And that's it.
Yeah. No, yeah,
you can say something is reliable and then say Jesus didn't rise from the dead. Because we can reliably say, for instance, that 21 people said that they saw the risen Jesus, but maybe there was a mass hallucination or something like that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of where I want to go with that. Yeah, I think oh gosh, sorry. I'm losing track of my thoughts.
Oh, you're
I think, no, sorry. Actually, this is what I was going to say. I think with the Gospels, like we tend to treat a lot, not just this conversation, but in general as people, we kind of treat things very black and white. Like I do think there's historical kernels of truth in the Gospels. But But I think when you reach the higher level claims of like these crazy miracles, resurrections, virgin births, I think that's the trickier part for me to make the leap of like, okay, yeah, sure, like maybe there's this guy preaching around Galilee.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm going to give you credit where credit's due. You're one of the very few skeptics that talks about this that just is honest about that, right? Let me just ask you this question. If we remove all the miracles from the gospel accounts and everything else stays the same, are you going to have a problem with saying the gospels are reliable?
I mean, based on my current knowledge, yes, just because knowing the fact that they're written decades later and they're written in Greek, they're not eyewitness accounts.
Okay, so
that will make me, I think,
so why are you
at least
bringing
pause.
So why are we bringing up miracles as the big thing when you have all these other data points then? Like, in other words, Brad, we got to choose a lane, right? Are we contesting the miracles? Or are we contesting the reliability? There's a difference between whether or not the miracles actually happened, because you can have reliability plus the miracles didn't actually happen, people were mistaken or something like that, right? And you can have not reliability with no miracles.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think you have to like necessarily be that black and white about it. Because you can say that, okay, maybe this part of the gospel has a kernel of truth in it,
Yeah,
but maybe
I know.
the miracle part.
I agree with
and
that.
well,
I agree with that.
Well, and then
The
maybe some
problem
parts
is-
are literature, right? Like the Road to Emmaus, like something like that. It's like it can be a combination of things, not just it's either all one.
Listen to what you're doing with like the psychological profile of the author now, right? You're basically positing like a schizophrenic author. He's going, I'm going to give all of these historical reports right here, but right here, I'm going to copy Homer. But now I'm going to go back to historical stuff. Oh, I'm going to put in the Iliad here. That's a really complex hypothesis all of a sudden that we're just gerrymandering to avoid a conclusion that we don't like.
And the conclusion seems to be like, well, I don't think miracles happen, but that's starting with a conclusion. That's starting with like an idea that naturalism is true. These miracles can happen. I mean, I thought if we're going to be skeptics, we should start from a place of agnosticism and follow the evidence, not start with presuppositions about whether miracles can or can't happen.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just more it's about demonstrating that miracles, I guess, can happen first before like just, I don't know if that's like assuming that it's just more like based on just observation, like miracles
Were
you
in the queue an hour ago where we talked about the evidence for the resurrection?
No, I wasn't.
I'd recommend going back like an hour and 20 minutes and listen to the evidence we gave for the resurrection and then come back up. It was about an hour and 20 minutes ago. You see, I put out a whole slideshow and everything. Look at that and then see if you can see if you have a better explanation of the data than what the resurrection offers.
Yeah,
and
no, sure. I'm willing to look at that stuff.
And if you come to the conclusion after listening to that, well, I just don't think miracles can happen, then I think you need to check the philosophical presuppositions you're bringing to the table.
Yeah.
Because we should not look at data through presuppositions. We try to be as unbiased as possible. Go ahead, Dan.
Yeah, I was just going to say, like, I could sit here and give you tons of miracle cases that I've investigated, have documentation on, et cetera, right? So it's up to you. Like, I can tell you really quickly about a case called of a woman named Emma McKinley. She had a work accident, fell off a ladder at work in 1993, and then develops a reflex sympathetic dystrophy, RSD. It's a disability profile. We have court records and documents that she's wheelchair bound because of the pain. She has a clawed left hand. Her body's tilted to the left in her wheelchair, and she needs about 70 hours of personal care needs after this accident. She can't work. She is legally deemed like not able to work. There's money involved and big corporations involved. Okay. On Christmas Eve in 2011, she falls out of her wheelchair and cries out to Jesus and says that Jesus appeared in front of her, and then says that Jesus took her foot and put it back, corrected her spine, and then told her to get up, and she's walking. And then her family comes over the next day and sees her walking for the first time since 1993. And then in January of 2012, after Christmas, because this happened on Christmas Eve, and in January of 2012, she goes to the doctor, and we have a male physician on the record observing that she's now standing for the first time ever. The nurse that's assigned to her case has no clue what happened. And we have tons of testimony and documentation from this. Not only, again, we have the case in court records from the, I think it's Minnesota Disability Court. What happened there if miracles don't happen?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I've never heard. I don't know the story, so I don't know exactly like what happened. Well, do you mind telling me what it's like, what the case is called, so I can kind of look into it more?
It's Emma McKinley is her name. I'll probably put a video on this at some point. I recorded a reel, but like this is one of the things that I do. I have over like 50 miracle cases like this where I have documentation, all this other stuff, and so there's more work that's going to come out on this sooner or later. But yeah, I'm just saying, like, I assume everything I said is true. What's your explanation of how she's recovered and her testimony that Jesus appeared to her?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know like about the case itself. Like, I'd want to do my own like research before I like assume anything's true.
I recommend.
No, I mean, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's just a conditional question.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
I recommend doing that.
No, yeah.
We've given you a lot to think about. I highly recommend you check out this series we have on the reliability of the Gospels. There's a lot of data in here. We even go through the Mark, Matthew, Luke, John give evidence that they go back to eyewitnesses. So a lot of stuff here I highly recommend you check out. I don't want to keep you too long or overload you, but I think there's a lot there that you can look into.
Yeah, no, for sure. And yeah, no, it's a really interesting like topics and stuff, how, you know, how the Bible came together and all that kind of stuff and the canon. Yeah, no, it is really interesting. And that's why, you know, I was a Christian for like 20 years, and actually, that's funny. I actually still love learning about the Bible even to this day, because from just the psychology, the history behind it and everything, it's really fascinating.
Good. All right, man, we'll let you go. Thanks for coming. We're going to move on to some other
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah. No.
All right, we're going to wrap up here soon. We'll try to get a couple more guests in. Let's get these super chats. We have been given the reason for why hearsay rule here. Yes, this is true. I feel like Luke 8:38-39 is really strong to prove Jesus is God. Is there any refutation to this? I feel y'all should use this. Luke 8.
I'm pulling it up.
8:38-39. It says, this man from whom the demons have gone begged that he might be with him, but Jesus sent him away, saying, return to your home and declare how much God has done for you. And he went away proclaiming throughout the whole country how much Jesus has done for him. Yeah, that Luke is clearly saying Jesus is God for sure. Yeah. We went full Muslim, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, that woman did, after she kind of denied being a Muslim, and then we started to call her out, and she was clearly a Muslim. Allah can't be above her understanding, but the Trinity should fit within her understanding. Girl, that's a double standard. Exactly. Thank you for the super sticker. Hey, AP, I've been struggling with slavery in the Old Testament. Do you have a book recommendations that can help me? I got you.
Man, I always feel weird saying this title. Slaves, Women, and Homosexuals by William J. Webb.
Also, check out this playlist we have here on the Mosaic Law. There's 3 videos in there. That should help you a lot. So check out those 3 videos. Misunderstood Mosaic Law, Imperfect, and Revolutionary. That covers a lot of that. Thank you for the generous $50 super chat. It's confusing. Is it an argument? I'm confused by black hole theory and time dilation theory with regard to the destiny of matter, etc. The reality of truth of a fact or theory being subjective, confusing to me. Yep, exactly. Yeah. Well said, Buddy the Rabbit. Just because something's confusing doesn't make it false. And yeah. Since scholars agree that Moses never existed, well, they're wrong. Then wouldn't the source and veracity of the 10 Commandments be called into question? And what would we do with the verses where Jesus refers to Moses as a real historical person? Okay, scholars are not divinely inspired. And they're wrong. Check out a video we had called the the true age of the Torah, we give a lot of evidence for the reliability of the Torah. So, and thereby placing it back around the time of Moses. So yeah, just because they say that doesn't make it magically true. There are a lot of scholars that present evidence that support reliability of the Torah and Moses. So it doesn't work. Allah has a shin and 2 right hands, and am I better than Allah? Well, yeah, you're not the best of deceivers, so therefore you are clearly better. Just watch your old debate with Phil Zuckerman, and I have a question about it. How did you not throw yourself through a brick wall? IP shows evidence that Christianity is good for society, but that doesn't prove it's true. Yeah, listen, it is what it is with these guys all the time. They
What if it does, though? What if Christianity being good for society is evidence for Christianity being true? I think
be great. That'd be great. People need to learn the difference between pedantry and semantics. Yes, they do. Please recommend evidence-based books on the resurrection. Mike Lacona's book, The Resurrection of Jesus. Nick Meter's book, Extraordinary Claims for an Extraordinary Evidence, or Extraordinary Evidence for an Extraordinary Claim on the Resurrection. Luke, what is it? Andrew Loke has a good book on the resurrection. What is that one? Hold on. There's another one I was thinking of, but I can't remember. Just read it a couple. Just finished reading this freaking book. Yeah, Did Jesus Rise from the Dead? Is the title of the book. Did Jesus Rise from the Dead by Matthew Levering. So there's another book. So you got a lot of good books there. All right. Let's see here. Kareem, are you there?
Yo, oh, my bad, bro. Mr. Mike, what's up, man?
What's going on?
You remember me, man?
I remember you. Of course I do. What's going on?
What's up, man?
You're
I'm
awesome.
doing
You had
great.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, so you said Jesus is God, right?
Yep, that's what the Gospels teach.
Okay. So when you say Jesus is God, you're saying he possesses every attribute of God, yes?
I would word it as he has all the intrinsic properties of what it is to be God. So omnipotence, omniscience, moral perfection.
Yes. Okay. Can you help me understand how God become like you said Jesus is God. Jesus is a man and he's also God. And you have this doctrine.
Mm-hmm.
The hypostatic union. Can you help me understand it? Because it seems contradictory to me, Mr. Mike.
Yeah, Jesus has the divine nature, and then he takes on the human nature.
And then say that again?
So Jesus is eternally has the divine nature,
Mhm.
and then he enters into time and takes on a human nature. Therefore, he has 2 natures.
Okay. So are there okay. Let me say it like this. Are there properties only for God that only God has?
Yes.
Okay, and are there properties that only humans can have?
I don't think so, no. Because you could say humans are mortal, but so are animals. So they're not, I don't know if they're, I mean, you would say, I guess, only humans have the human nature. Maybe might be the way to put it.
Okay. So if God is immortal and humans are mortal, how can he be both immortal and mortal?
Because his mortality comes through his human nature, not his divine nature.
But so God is immortal and mortal at the same time?
What do you mean by those, though?
Okay,
Do you mean
so
like
from what
can't
I
die?
understand it, like your doctrine says, he's 2 natures, yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he's both immortal, the God, and mortal, the not God, the human. How can he be
through his natures? Yes.
Yes, but how can
Let
he
me,
be
Kareem, before we keep going, I just want to add something. How about we be more precise with our words? Because your speech is using the word God in 2 different ways while you're talking.
How?
Right? You're using the word God to designate a divine person and God to designate a divine nature in the same argument. So let's disambiguate that and just say divine nature and divine person.
Okay, by God, I'll just say divine nature. The divine nature of God. Okay. So how can Jesus have the divine nature of God, who is immortal, and how can he also be human, which is mortal?
by possessing two natures.
Yes, but I'm saying you can't have one and the other. You must have. You can either be immortal or mortal, but you can't be both immortal or mortal. That's a contradiction, Mr. Mike.
Can you define what those terms mean then? Like, what do you mean by immortal and mortal?
Mortal meaning, I suppose, the ability to die.
Okay.
To cease to exist. And immortal meaning the ability to not die, to not be able to not cease to exist. Meaning you
So
can't die.
you're equivocating on those, to die and cease to exist. When you die, are you going out of existence? Are you going to cease to exist?
I would say like your mind, your consciousness, which is like
not-
you. Yes.
You're not going to heaven?
Okay, you are right about that, Mr. Mike. What I mean is, would you not consider death to be like ceasing to exist in a way?
Yes, but I would not say human nature. I would not say human natures die. So Jesus had a human nature allowing him to die, but the person died, but he did not cease to exist ever. He just simply went through physical death through his human nature. That doesn't mean he ceased to exist. It just means he could experience death through his human nature. But he still had human nature after he died.
So was his spirit a god or something like that? And was his body human?
No, he had a human nature, and so he was a divine person with a human nature who also had a physical body.
Okay. So death, right? Death obviously is you physically die, but also your spirit, your physical body dies and your spirit is separated from your physical body. Do you agree, Mr. Mike?
Yep.
Okay. So how can Jesus physically die if he has a divine, eternal, immortal, eternal nature that can't die by definition, but he's also physically dying in his human nature?
Based on what you said, once again, divine nature is not going to die, just like the human nature is not going to die. Natures don't die. When I die, the person dies, but I'm still human and going off into eternity. So I still have the human nature. So Jesus possessing two natures, that's not a problem because it's the person who dies via his human nature. But he still possesses both of those natures. The nature just allows the person to die. It itself does not die. So when you ask, how does the divine nature die? I'm going to be like, that doesn't make any sense. Natures don't die.
Okay. I guess that has been understood. But help me understand one more thing, Mr. Mike.
Okay.
Okay. Can God change?
God does not change in his nature.
Okay, God does not change. Would you consider when Jesus was in your doctrine, he was not always human, yes?
No, he became human in the incarnation.
Okay. So when he assumed the human nature, is that a change to his divine nature? Because it's
not in the divine nature. No, the divine nature didn't change.
But it's adding the human nature to it, no?
But remember what I said.
Divine nature.
Yeah, I said the divine nature doesn't change. I said the person, Christ, can take on a human nature. That does not mean the divine nature changes, though.
So before the incarnation, Jesus was just only God, right? He was not whatever you say, the H word or anything like that.
Here's a really simple example, just really quickly, okay? Sure, I have a human nature.
What is your
right?
name, Mr. What?
Special Needs Than.
Do you have?
You can call him
me
Mr.
by my title.
Than. You can call him Mr. Than.
Okay, Mr. Than. What did you want to say, Mr. Than?
This isn't like a one-to-one analogy, but it's just something to help get the point across. That's all. Right? Sure, I have a human nature, but I also have the nature of being a father, right? I did not always have the nature of being a father, though, right? Does my human nature change when I become a father?
But that's not good analogy because father is.
I said it's not a one-to-one, right? I acknowledge that, but if you're okay with the idea that my fatherly nature does not change my human nature,
you relationally change your relationship to whoever.
Yeah. Again, it's not a perfect analogy. It doesn't have to be. Analogies don't have to be one-to-one. The underlying principle is, if one nature can be sustained while another nature is included, then there's no problem.
Okay. I think I get a little bit. Now, Here's my challenge to you. I want you to show me hypostatic union in the Bible, Mr. Mike and Mr. Thun.
You want us to show you the hypostatic? Well, I mean, we say it's taught. So
Yes.
what we say, yeah. So Jesus is clearly human, but he also identifies himself as God.
Where does he identify himself with God? And when I say identify, I don't need him to say exactly verbatim, I am God. Okay? Show me where he identifies with something that only God can say truthfully.
You got it. I'm going to put up Logos here for you. Okay. So this is Logos. This is a software that we support and use. This is the Greek Septuagint. Okay. This is the Greek translation of the Old Testament. So many moons ago, they translated the Old Testament into Greek. Oftentimes, when they got to the divine name, they read something like Adonai Yahweh. And how they would translate that is Kyrie Kyrie. You can see they're all highlighted on the screen.
It's the same word.
Yep. It's Lord, Lord, the way it would be translated into English. Kyrie Kyrie. Now, only this title is ever applied to God in Greek text. And that right in front of you. As you can see, these are literal titles only for God. I'm saying now the burden is on you to show anyone else who's ever called Kyrie Kyrie in Greek text from the time or prior that's not Yahweh. All of the texts that we can find only identify Yahweh as Kyrie Kyrie. So you can see I have 5 examples up here. Deuteronomy 3:24, Psalm 68:7, Psalm 108:21, Psalm 139:8, Psalm 104:8. Okay, so this is a title only ever applied to God. Only ever applied to God. But Jesus uses that title for himself. He uses it for himself in Matthew 7:21-22 and Luke 6:46. So he calls himself Kyrie Kyrie in Greek. Therefore, Jesus explicitly identifies himself as Yahweh by using a title only ever applied to God.
So if I say someone's name twice, that means I'm God?
No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying the specific title, Lord, Lord, Kyrie Kyrie, is only ever applied to Jesus and Yahweh. So Jesus is using a title only for God, for himself.
Not every. That can just mean human master.
But it does. Then show me a place where Lord, Lord is used for a human master.
Lord, Lord, it's the one parable with the Lord, where Okay, you raised me a good challenge, Mr. Mike. But I don't know. Just because it says 2 words twice, it doesn't mean that. It could just mean in like a figurative sense. You know what I mean?
Well, that would be incredibly odd for Jesus to use a title. I mean, he'd be committing shirk here. He'd be committing blasphemy. He's claiming to be God.
He's doing it by accident. Jesus is just the agents. You know what agency is, Mr. Mike? I learned that word recently. It's an agency word, okay? So it's just agency.
Claiming, can an agent claim to be God, though?
No, he's not claiming to be God. He's a human master, so he can be called Lord. Okay,
he's not saying that. He's saying he's Lord,
lords. That doesn't mean they're lords. That doesn't mean they're literally gods. Okay, Joseph is called the Lord of the land. It doesn't mean that he's literally God.
But I'm not saying the title Lord of the land is a title only for Yahweh. I'm saying Kyrie Kyrie, Lord, Lord is only ever applied to Yahweh.
Lord of the land? Is God not the Lord of the land?
What?
Is God not the Lord of the land?
Yeah, but that's not a title exclusive to God. Lord, Lord is.
Okay, so I say the same thing. The Lord is not exclusive to God.
Great. Show me where.
Lord being... I show it is... Joseph is called the Lord of the land.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying the specific title, Lord, Lord.
The Philistines are called the Lords.
What? They're not called Lord, Lord.
When they take the ark, they are called the Lords. Is what they say. So if you're saying Lord is only for God, then it
that's not what I'm saying. Once again, I'm not saying
he's talking about the double usage. Lord, Lord. There's something special about it being used 2 times. I don't know.
Mr. Mike, Mr. Thun, I do have to go. Okay, next time we will speak. Okay, I will reappear. I promise you, Mr. Mike and Mr. Special Needs Thun.
Okay.
Thank you for calling me by my proper title. I appreciate it.
Yes. Okay. Let me Let's do these super chats real fast, and then I got to set up a redirect. Hi, guys. Having issues with your live. I'm not staying on. Running and doesn't allow pop-up mode. Other streams doesn't do that using an Android. I have no idea what you're talking about. It's not staying on running and doesn't allow pop-up mode. I don't know, man. A lot of people are not having the problem, so I don't know what your issue is. It might be something with your phone. How much longer are you guys planning on going? I have a oneness friend who might be able to join in 20 minutes. We're going to wrap up here probably in like 5 minutes. We go for 3 hours. Yeah, Than's hungry. Just finished Webb's book. It won't allow me to write the title. Super based.
It is very good.
Yep. Hey, Than, could you give me some of the medical journals that Emma McKinley was talked about in? I want to check out the research.
McKinley's case isn't in a medical journal. And I can't put out... There's certain things I can put out there because I have the rights to. There's certain medical documentation I still can't put out publicly because I don't have the HIPAA rights to do that yet. Yeah, this is like for anybody that's ever wondering about the miracle cases, it's not as easy as you think it is to get medical documentation because there's getting it in the first place, but then there's also jumping through the legal and ethical hoops of being able to publish it publicly. It's very difficult. I'll just put that.
Basically, Than is running, is what he wants to say.
Hey, if somebody wants to, for free, do lawyer stuff and get that stuff for me, go ahead, please. I would love it.
Good, yes. We need more lawyers. Than, check my Discord message to you. Hear my song. Same name, but Luffy waving picture. Also sent it on TT. Same name with an orange and gray Crusader pick. Okay. He will try to check that out when he can. Show off your Goku, Than.
I did while you guys were talking. I'll do it again.
Oh, okay. So he already did it.
Pew, pew, pew. Pew.
You know, people are going to clip that now.
I know. You think I care? There's not even noises that happen in Dragon Ball Z. That's why I did it like that.
But people are dead. I don't know what this is referring to. Not sure what this is referring to here.
Retard.
Oh,
They're
I
censoring
see.
the word retarded.
I see. Cause they probably couldn't get it through the super jet. I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I get what you're saying there, sir. Got it. Thank you, Than. Mike, this money goes to Than. He'll eventually work his way up. Okay. I'll make sure the $5 goes
I will
to
send
him.
from special needs to normal needs.
Yes. Sounds about right. Yeah. So. All right. So, yeah, we're going to close this out in a couple minutes. I was asked to redirect to a video that Lady Logic is putting up. So I'm going to do that because somebody asked me to. So, yeah, that'll be redirected here in a minute to a video she's about to put up in 2 minutes? Oh, wait. No, wait a minute. No, is this a live? Oh, they're going live. Are they going live? She's got 4 Christian women, it looks like. So we'll bring up one more caller while they get ready for that then. Azian, are you there?
Oh, I can't believe I made it. Hey, I just had a question. Very, very brief. How can we know that the typology, like in Psalm 22, is actually referring to Jesus? Because people would say like, basically, oh, this is clearly just referring to David, and it's there's no evidence it's supposed to be messianic.
Well, you
I
use
have
the word
I have a video coming up on this at some point.
Okay, yeah. I mean, first of all, we would say you use it yourself, typology. It's a type, it's a pattern. Jesus is meeting that pattern. So it can be both. It can be David. It can be referring to aspects of David, but then there's other aspects that you would say are fulfilled in Christ through that pattern or type.
Like the part where it says that all the world will come to worship Yahweh and stuff.
Mm-hmm. What about it?
Yeah, Zechariah.
What was it?
Zechariah talks about that too. Like, there's a bunch of really unique things you need to think about when it comes to prophecy too. I mean, like, let me put this little bug in your ear. Why is it that Yahweh is always telling the Israelites, remember what I have done for you?
Don't know.
I would argue it fits really neatly in with the way that Yahweh intervenes with Israel and the way that Israel rereads the Old Testament and Israel's history when they go through other things. So for instance, like the Jordan River being split is seen as a type or a pattern of the Exodus, right? Hosea actually uses that same Exodus typology in its own understanding. And the whole entire point is, when you're thinking about prophecy and typological prophecy, where you're asking yourself, hey, do I see the pattern here, isn't really going to be the right question to ask. The right question to ask is, how would the ancient Jew view the life of Jesus, especially like with Matthew's gospel? The whole entire point is, like, you see the patterns of Yahweh, and to the ancient Israelite or to the Second Temple Jew, they're going to look at that pattern that's before them and they're going to go, oh, that's how I know this is Yahweh working again. It's because that same pattern is recurring again and again and again. That's why Yahweh always tells people, remember the things I've done. Now, there's way more to this, but like, does that help at all?
Yeah, I think I see what you're saying. He's telling them to remember. He's basically telling them to sort of identify these patterns or things that have happened. Yeah. I'm gonna leave because I know you guys are trying to get out of here. But I was just gonna say, a while ago, Than, I had mentioned to you a prophecy in an apocryphal book, and I didn't remember what it was, but now I remember it was Wisdom of Solomon. Wisdom of Solomon chapter 2. Is that a real prophecy? Or I know, or the Deuterocanonicals aren't really seen by us Protestants, but like,
how do you know I'm Protestant, man?
How do you know he's Protestant?
Huh?
I don't know.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My bad.
Got an icon right there. What do you think?
Oh yeah. But is that a good? Well, I don't know about the dating of Wisdom of Solomon, because it seems to be a clear messianic prophecy in chapter 2, but I don't know any arguments for like how to prove it.
How much time do you have,
not
Mike?
prove it, show evidence for it being dated.
I gotta get going. I gotta get to a meeting here,
All right.
but
Sorry, Eisen.
That's all good. Okay.
I can't give you a yes or no to that because it wouldn't do it justice.
Okay, guys. Bye. Have a good one.
Oh, later, brothers.
all right, everyone. Thanks for coming. I forgot I got to get to a meeting, but I appreciate everybody coming. I will see you guys next time. I'll be out of town and talking about Islam in the capital next week. So something.
It's next week when I'm
about
on
that.
my own.
You're on your own next week. Yep.
Okay.
So figure it out. Anyway. I'll see you guys
Gaming
later.
stream.
No. You made it to the end of this video, which means this message matters to you. If you want to see more content like this reaching people for Christ, you can help make it happen. Your support makes these videos possible. Click the link below and donate today. And if you want to go even deeper, consider joining our Patreon community. You'll get early access to videos, behind-the-scenes content, and a place to connect with others passionate about this mission.